saw another reader tonight got 4,000 lives, and I thought, I need to just tell people what they want to hear, and then I would be successful too. Stop being ethical. Stop being an ethical person and just start lying and making stuff up, and then I'll have lots and lots of money. And yeah, I don't know. It's something to think about. Tell people what they want to hear. I've never tried some of these songs. I don't know if I want to sing that. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of these songs I haven't sung in a while. You know, and there's some of them that I'm just now learning. I'm looking at, I got a lot of songs, but I don't know which ones to play. Guys like Tracy Chapman? She's a tenor alto. Till I'm in my grave, be dreaming of a life of ease and mountains of things. Have a big expensive car, drag my furs on the ground. Have a maid I can tell, bring me anything. Everyone will look at me with envy and with greed. I'll revel in their attentions and mountains, oh mountains of things. Sweet lazy life, champagne and caviar. Won't you hope and find me? You know who we are. Those who deserve the best in life know what money's worth, and those whose sole misfortune was having mountains of nothing at birth. Oh, they tell me no time to save my soul. They tell me renounce all those material things you gain by exploiting other human beings. Some more than you need. This is the dream. Make you a pauper, make you a queen. I won't die lonely, I got it all prearranged. A grave that's deep and wide enough for me. All my mountains are things. Oh, they tell me still got time to save my soul. They tell me renounce all those real things you gain by exploiting other human beings. Mostly I feel lonely. Good people are only my stepping stone. It's gonna take all my mountains of things to surround me. Keep all my enemies away. Keep my sadness and loneliness at bay. Life I've always wanted, I guess I'll never have. I've been working for somebody else until I'm in my grave. We dream about a life of ease and mountains, oh mountains of things. I'll be dreaming, 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 dreaming. I'll be dreaming, 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 dreaming. I'll be dreaming, 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 dreaming. Thank you. Hello, loves. How is everyone tonight? You got your tambourine? Well, we've lost a lot of people. People are like, I don't want to hear you sing. I want to hear you. I want to see the cards. I want to see the cards. I know. I just can't do it. I just can't make stuff up. I can try and talk to aliens. That might be fun. Oof. I'm sitting in a strange chair for this. I recall this was easier to play, but maybe not. Let's see. I'm so excited about that trip we're taking. We're going to go to Europe. We've been living very frugally, darlings. We've been living very frugally. I don't want to sing that song. Yeah. I'm just thinking. You know what I played and my cat went, ah? I like that. It was We Shall Overcome. I was singing that, and my cat was like, that's really good. Like, oh. We shall, that's kind of low, isn't it? We shall over. Oh, it's on the third capo. Should we do that one? It's kind of long. Joan Baez's version, yeah. She was amazing. Is she not amazing, Joan Baez? Oh, thank you, Rose Blue. Ain't much, but aw, you're so sweet. A Palestinian terrorist chest. Well, religious extremism is the fault of all our problems, and Israel is becoming crazy. Religious extremist, Islamic extremist. We're surrounded by Muslim extremist countries that want to kill all the Jews. And so if you defend yourself, you're evil. So you just have to lie down and die. And then people say, well, it was so sad. There was another genocide. So you have to ask yourself if both Islam and Christianity have a long history of anti-Semitism. If you read the book of John, they talk, John was you look at these books, and they were probably edited by Romans who didn't like Jewish people very much. Like the book of John is all about synagogues of Satan and murmuring rabbis, sneaking little rabbis murmuring about and worshiping Satan. I mean, this imagery comes from the New Testament. But in the case of Islam, if you read the Quran, it's all about kill Jews. They'll be hiding behind a tree, find them and kill them. So if that's what you really believe, then Jews will never be truly safe. Right. And if you believe in missionizing, if you believe that your religion is better than somebody else's, then you'll never be safe. You'll forever be running from, if that's part of your core value, you can't ignore the anti-Semitism in Islam and Christianity. And what's terrifying is that we don't have a Department of Education. We are dissolving the Department of Education. So who's going to pay for our secondary education? Qatar. And Qatar is going to give Tucker Carlson a new home. So Qatar has given a house to Tucker Carlson, and he's given money to Candace Owen. Iran has given money to TYT and $20 billion to secondary education. So people joke that Jewish people have all this money, but we cannot economically, we can't win against Qatar when it comes to the Qatari dinar. They've got more money than God. I mean, human rights in Qatar, women are in hijab. A man is permitted to beat his wife. It's not illegal. He can do whatever the hell he likes. It's his privilege. It's his right. You may strike her to discipline her, which is also in the Quran. So the worst human rights records, unfortunately, are those Islamic countries. And what's terrifying is that they have voting rights in the UN. So you have 61 dictatorships all getting together. And anytime Jewish people defend themselves against, they will twist for example, we got attacked and there was a genocide against the Jews on October 7th. And then they accused us of genocide when we tried to dismantle Hamas. And then Egypt locked the people inside, and Egypt wouldn't open the gate to free the people, and Israel was blamed. So it's just par for the course. So it's much easier to just not be Jewish. It's much easier to just go and be Muslim. I was watching film footage today. Since Al-Qaeda has taken Syria, all the secular dictators have fallen, in the Middle East, and secular dictators were better for women's rights than religious extremism. So this elderly Christian was denied medication until she took the Shahadi. And they said, okay, you have to declare that you're a Muslim, and then we will disseminate your medication. Of course, they had guns. And this senior woman was just, okay, I accept the Shahadi, and I will be a good Muslim. Can I take my fucking beta blocker now? It's great. You are one of us now. Okay, you may have your medications to keep your heart pumping. It's like, these are the people that are voting in the UN and are pouring money into US universities. So what's terrifying is that this is the truth, right? Which is why nobody comes to this channel, because I'm just telling you the truth. So what's happening is that Qatar and Iran have bought out the media. Both the Green parties bought and sold, which is a shame because I used to be green. And they did the same thing with the fall of Iran. They took the progressives and the liberals and appealed to everything we wanted. And that was how they slid into power in Iran. And that is unfortunately, Jill Stein is bought and sold. It's very sad. But it doesn't mean that being a liberal is bad. Being a liberal is good. Wanting our country to pay for primary and secondary education is good. It is good for America that we support these values of paying for young people's education. It shouldn't be some foreign country with a horrific human rights record coming in. Well, the ayatollah would happily pay for your education, and then the next thing you know, you're in a burqa. I mean, it's really ironic that America was fighting and giving money to the Taliban under Reagan. We were funding the Taliban to drive out the Russians, and how horrible the Russian occupation was. And as bad as occupation is, it was much better for women in occupied Afghanistan than what they have now, where they're not allowed to work or read and write. It's interesting, some of the film footage where women are just sitting in the dirt asking for money outside the mosque because they have no income source. And one woman was giving a testimony that her husband was killed by the Taliban, and now she's a Taliban widow. She had 2 children, a boy and a girl. And the 3-year-old girl she sold to a pedophile for $450 because she had no choice, because she had to feed her and her son. And she was crying about how cursed women are and how we are treated worse than animals. And the Russian occupation is looking pretty damn good to the people of Afghanistan, the women of Afghanistan who got inoculated, became doctors under the Soviet system. And these were points that I was making at 18, 19 years old, that to these Republican Reagan lovers that we're talking about, we have to free Afghanistan from Russia, and we have to, of course, this was before Putin, but And they brought equality in education, and the Soviet educational system, which was a million times better than where they're at right now. Right? So it's all relative, right? As horrible as Assad was, and he was truly evil, the Assad regime was horrible. It's 10 times worse under Al Qaeda, right? So, yeah, massacring Christians, massacring Alawites, Druze. The Druze have fled to Israel. Israel has created a buffer zone between Lebanon and Israel. And the Druze, the Christians, and the Alawites are getting slaughtered. So there you have it. This is why Whimsy is not popular, I tell the truth. And I'm not a right-winger. I've been consistent. I was consistent when I pointed out that Russian occupation of Afghanistan was better than the Taliban. And people thought that, no, we're going to free by giving the Taliban control over the women. It will be not understanding the cultural complexities of life, and that women, so they have women now who are trained doctors that are, look like sacks of potatoes, under the Taliban. And as usual, America screwed it all up because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing, and we didn't understand. We were projecting our own little world onto people we knew nothing about. So that's sad. And now Britain is falling to the Taliban, basically. It's falling to Iranian propaganda, because you have all these Iranians and Pakistanis coming in, and North African with very strange ideas about women. We'll just go ahead and say it. We don't have to be politically correct. Very strange ideas about women, and they're importing them. So they've calculated that 500,000 women in Britain have been raped by foreigners in the last 40 years, grooming gangs, because they've never seen a woman walk around in a dress before. It's interesting. There was a protest. There was a Shia protest, and this reporter came and wanted to speak to people, and she was in a long dress, a long summer dress. May I speak to you, ma'am? What's the protest about? And the woman, who was in a burqa, said, "You're a whore and you need to put some clothes on. So you've come to this country and you start telling the Brits that they're whores. And if a person's a whore, then you have a right to, and she's not a Muslim, then you have a right to take her and make her a sex slave." And so they really believe that. And so grooming gangs came in, but women were silenced. And now there's this a feminist movement backlash, which is called Let Women Speak, where women were being silenced by progressives. No, you're being racist. You must silence the feminist. Well, that sounds like you're already putting me in a burqa. If I'm silenced, if I'm not allowed to speak about the fact that my daughter's been raped or trafficked, then for fear that we're not being tolerant. So these are scary times if you are a feminist. And if you're Jewish, and if you're a feminist, and if you believe in separation of church and state, as I do, and primary education for all, and affordable health care, and all of those things, you're certainly not going to be getting it in Afghanistan or Pakistan. And when you look at the worst countries with the worst human rights record, well, Qatar, they will always, they harbor Hamas, right? So they harbor terrorists that want to kill all the Jews. So what does that say about Qatar? What does that say about Qatar? So we can't go around killing everybody. at the same time, if a country won't let you create a peace movement, if they're threatening you with ballistic missiles, then what are you going to do? It's a very when if an abuser is in your face trying to molest you, trying to molest your daughter, and all you want, would you please let me move? Would you please go away? Would you please let me walk? Would you please let me move? And at some point, you're going to have to put hands on the person. And worst record for human rights, Iran. So, who led the charge in the UN accusing Israel of all kinds of craziness? Iran. So the Human Rights Watch was overseen by the country with the worst human rights record. This is why the UN has become a joke. So we can be politically correct and we can drink up Qatari propaganda from Al Jazeera, or we can look at solid data and say, these countries should not be voting on human rights, right? Iran, Burma, China, Libya, Russia, North Korea, Sudan, Yemen, Haiti, Congo, Egypt, Eritrea, Afghanistan. These are all predominantly Muslim countries, exception of Haiti, which has had a horrible time because we did not support their independence. We should have supported their independence, and we didn't. Congo, Egypt, Eritrea, Afghanistan, Syria, Burundi, CA Republic, Somalia, Venezuela, Ethiopia, Bahrain, Cambodia, Nigeria, Tajikistan, Swaziland, Turkmenistan, Zambia, Chad, Palestine. Sri Lanka. Palestine is the West Territories. So that are the areas that Israel withdrew from and are now under Palestinian control. That would be Gaza and the West Bank. Sri Lanka, Belarus, Guinea, Guatemala, Zimbabwe, Honduras, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Azerbaijan, Djibouti, India, Mali, Nicaragua, Iraq, Thailand, Ukraine, Algeria, Bangladesh, Brazil, Cameroon, Uzbekistan, Colombia, Guinea, Uganda, Liberia, Malaysia, Philippines, Vietnam, Burkina Faso, Kuwait, Laos, Gambia, Jordan, Maldives, Papua New Guinea, Tunisia, Mauritania, where they still have slaves. Mozambique, Congo, Kazakhstan, Lebanon, Indonesia, Brunei, Ivory Coast, Togo, Rwanda, UAE Emirates, Angola, Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Kyrgyzstan, Benin, Comoros, Cuba. It's just getting increasingly worse. Nepal, El Salvador, Belize, Peru, Madagascar, Armenia, Bolivia, Hungary, Bhutan, Botswana, Mexico, Paraguay, Sierra Leone, Tanzania, Qatar, Morocco, South Africa, Fiji, Jamaica. I'm still looking for Israel. Lesotho, Bahamas, Malawi, Georgia, Panama, Senegal, Singapore, Mongolia, Romania, Seychelles, Solomon Islands, USA, 117. Right? So it's number one is the worst. So we're at 117, not bad. Bosnia and Herzegovina better than us. Dominican Republic is better than us. Suriname is better than us. And Antigua Barbuda is better than us. Poland, Greece is better than us. And there is Israel at 124, better than the United States for human rights. And that's because all Israeli citizens, whether they are Arab, Palestinian or not, have the right to vote. But if you're in the Palestinian territories, then your life is pretty crappy. There's all these other countries that are doing better than us, like Cyprus, South Korea, UK. And that's not good. We want to be like Norway, which is number one, sitting at 175, Iceland, Switzerland, because Finland, these are the top countries, and they're all democratic socialist countries. So again, we want to encourage secularism and democratic socialism, but you have to ask yourself intellectually, if Israel is doing better than the United States for human rights, and if it's doing better than the countries that are attacking it, what's really going on? If the Jews have been kicked out of 109 countries because of Christian and Muslim anti-Semitism, because they are both missionary religions, there comes a point when those countries have to look in the mirror and say, oh, this is why Jews need a homeland. Not a homeland to practice their religion, but a homeland to be protected from us, right? So if all of these countries are trying to kill Jewish people, then the purpose of Israel was to go home, go back to Judea and Samaria just to stay alive. Egypt, 11, Eritrea, Afghanistan, 13. These numbers, I've seen that it's much worse. It's gotten worse. So a global world economy, it's actually North Korea, Afghanistan, Eritrea, Nicaragua. Oh, I was in Nicaragua. And Sudan scoring the lowest. The Middle East, North Africa holds several of the lowest spots, with Yemen, Syria, and Iran noted for severe violations, including restrictions on women's rights, freedom of expression, and violence. Widespread violations in China, Belarus, Myanmar. Yeah, so what's going on? What's going on? Somebody's lying. Why are they lying? And why are they in our universities? Why are they in our universities? And what is happening in our universities as a result of this? That's my conversation. Yeah, so in 2005, Israel made a mistake. They gave Gaza to the Gazan people, but the Gazan people couldn't create a democratic government. So Hamas came in, which was an Iranian proxy. Israel left. And they began firing on Israel. So Israel kept having to go in over and over and over again. Meanwhile, the innocent children are killed in the middle of the conflict. So there's a border they have with Egypt, and Egypt locked them inside and wouldn't let them out. So every time Hamas would trap people inside and begin firing on, they built tunnels inside hospitals with Iranian money, 60 meters underground. And so I want to get to peace and build Oasis zones so that the children of Gaza have hope and get them away from these psychopath nut jobs, right? And build tolerance and not this crazy extremism. So how do you do that? How do you do that? You got to get them away from Hamas, or you've got to get Hamas out of Gaza. You've got to get that mentality out of Gaza, right? But if people believe that that is the truth. Did you see the cartoon about, did you guys see the cartoon about Iran? About the ayatollah going to hell? Did you guys see that? Pretty scary. Yeah, you asked about Oasis? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That is part of the Zelensky deal, was he wants an Oasis zone. And as long as he's willing to do that, he's going to be able to create. So Oasis, baby, you're looking at it. This is Oasis. My baby. That is my baby, right? He's doing it. He's making it happen. He's making it happen. In the Donetsk. It is happening. It is happening. How long will it take? Well, unfortunately, if somebody's crazy, then what can you do? If somebody is insane and God is talking to them and God is telling them, I need to kill you all if you don't do what I say, how can you build a peace zone? And that's the problem.
Mr. Khomeini, you will have to fill this form first.
I think there was some kind of mistake.
Hey, yeah, you tell me. Yeah, well, they are always like that. Yeah, I know. Later. Yes, as I said before, you need to fill out the form right here.
Boss, I have something very peculiar waiting for you in my office.
Huh, perfect. Okay, Lucy, later. I have a client right now.
Deeply respected demon,
Beelzebub. That's a pretty common demon name around here.
Yes, Beelzebub, I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding. I am the great ayatollah, you understand?
Yes, I understand everything perfectly. I have your file here. I'll read it to you now. Let's review your stellar resume, Your Eminence. In chronological order, of course. We love a well-organized damnation file. You can also watch the video footage on the screen. Started strong in the 1980s. President during the Iran-Iraq War. You masterfully stretched that glorious 8-year bloodbath into a record-breaking human sacrifice. 1 million dead souls, including thousands of children sent to clear minefields with plastic paradise keys around their necks. Because true Islamists adore offering their own kids to the cause. We in hell absolutely love that kind of devotion. Sheer ideological brilliance. Okay, next. 1988, the legendary prison massacre. 30,000 political prisoners erased in weeks. Clean, fast, no mercy. We love it. 1989 onward, built the ultimate proxy terror network. Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, Iraqi militias. You funded, armed, trained them all like a true CEO of chaos. Hezbollah, your golden child in Lebanon. Once upon a time, Lebanon was the glittering jewel of the Middle East, a prosperous, multi-confessional paradise with stunning beaches, booming banks, vibrant nightlife, and people of every faith living side by side. Then the Palestine Liberation Organization turned it into their armed playground. Cross-border raids, chaos, civil war. Israel came in 1982 and kicked them out. And there, in the smoking ruins, you saw opportunity. You forged Hezbollah out of the ashes. A far deadlier, far more fanatical upgrade. Thanks to your brilliant stewardship, that once thriving Mediterranean gem became a bankrupt, militia-choked terrorist cesspool. From paradise to perfect proxy playground. Pure genius in the art of strategic decay. And of course, we can't forget about Hamas, your proud Gaza franchise, the crown jewel of plausible deniability. You poured in hundreds of millions in cash, Iranian-made rockets, tunnel blueprints, military trainers, and endless ideological pep talks straight from Tehran. Turned a tiny coastal strip into a fortress of terror. And let's not overlook the genius touch. Disguising command centers, weapon caches, and fighter bunkers under hospitals, schools, mosques, and UN facilities. Hospitals packed with rockets instead of medicine. Schools turned into rocket launching pads, using civilians as living shields while screaming war crimes when anyone dares strike back.
A butcher must sometimes sharpen his knife on innocence, for Allah's greater glory, of course.
Like you did on October 7.
Well, I might have played a part here.
And you did a stellar job, Your Excellency. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Green movement in 2009, smashed it to pieces. Millions poured into the streets after your rigged election, chanting, "Where is my vote?" waving green flags, thinking they could topple the theocracy. You unleashed the besieged thugs, riot police, and IRGC goons. Batons cracking skulls. Live ammunition into crowds. Hundreds shot dead in days. Then the real fun began in prisons. Mass arrests of thousands, savage beatings, electric shocks, mock executions, and yes, systematic rape of both men and women detainees to break their spirits. Moving on. In 2019, you tripled fuel prices overnight. The streets boiled with rage again, and you answered with bullets, as usual. Straight to women, children, anyone breathing defiance. Around 1,500 souls harvested in days. Then, to bury the evidence, you choked the whole country's internet for nearly a week. Perfect silence, perfect slaughter. Exquisite. Moving on. The Woman, Life, Freedom Uprising in 2022. Oh, what a delicious chapter. It all started with the murder of Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old Kurdish girl beaten to death by your morality police for a few strands of hair peeking out. One arrest, one coma, one funeral, and the whole country erupted. Millions hit the streets, women burning hijabs, cutting hair on video, chanting "Woman, Life, Freedom," and "Death to the Dictator" right at you. As always, you deployed your favorite methods. Live rounds into crowds. Over 500 killed. Birdshots to blind protesters forever. Thousands wounded. Then the prisons. Mass arrests of 20,000 plus. Savage beatings, electric shocks, and systematic sexual torture. Gang rapes, forced nudity, threats to families to crush their spirits. All by the book. Morality police doubled down. More whippings, acid attacks, public shamings. Fashion enforcement on steroids. No wonder feminists around the globe adore your authentic regime. And now, let's talk about the October 7th masterpiece. Your proxies in Hamas went on quite the rampage. Mass rape, vicious murders, hundreds of hostages, women, children, elderly, no discrimination at all. And then calling it heroic resistance afterward. Well, you are a marketing legend, Your Eminence. An absolute evil genius. And the UN, of course, decided to give you the ultimate reward for all these glorious achievements. They handed Iran the presidency of the UN Human Rights Council in 2023. Then let your delegation lecture the world on women's rights and peaceful protest management. What a sick twist. Even down here in hell, we had to double-check the headlines to make sure it wasn't some cosmic prank. We were laughing so hard, our pitchforks started vibrating. And the 2026 grand finale. January protests crushed with shoot-to-kill orders. Over 30,000. Some whisper 36,000. The souls are still pouring. Machine-gunned in days. Mass graves. Total blackout. Your magnum opus, fresh blood still steaming, turned a whole nation into hardcore theocracy deluxe.
But Why am I here? This place looks very reminiscent of, hell. I did everything Allah told me to do.
Oh no, you heard the voice perfectly, Your Eminence. The one who commanded rivers of blood, child martyrs, endless holy wars, hardcore woman abuse, and absolute terror in his name. The one you served, the one who issued the orders. The original founder, the chairman of the board, the final boss. And our dear father, you call him Allah. We just call him by his first name down here, Lucifer.
It can't be.
Welcome to hell, Your Eminence. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell, or we'll ring it for you.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's pretty, it's pretty horrible. So, yeah, they are by far the most horrible for human rights, and they are the ones overseeing the Human Rights Commission at the UN. So it brings up the conversation, do we dissolve the UN? If the UN is bought and sold, if Anna Kazi, or whatever her name is, and TYT, if these are are on their payroll, what has happened to the progressive movement? The same thing that they did to the progressive movement in Iran. They bought it out. They bought the Green Party and they bought the progressives. So, are we in trouble? I think that's the conversation that real liberals like me, real liberals like Golda Meir and David Ben-Gurion, who was they were both socialist, democratic socialist. Country started off democratic socialist, and under Bibi Netanyahu, he has destroyed the country. He's an Ayn Rand, right-wing Putin puppet, and he has been gaslighting the Israelis that if you are if you're left of center, then you must be with the Ayatollah. And yes, it's true that Iran has bought out progressives and the left, and that young people are being indoctrinated at universities and think Iran is great. And I'm standing with Iran. I've had people say, I'm standing with Iran because Israel is bad and Iran is good. And I'm standing with Iran. And these people it's terrifying. They've taken over our schools, and so has Qatar. Will we survive as a country? I don't know. I don't know if the United States is going to survive, and I don't know if Israel's going to survive, because if Netanyahu continues to give all this power to religious people who in some cases are crazy, the ultra-Orthodox think the earth is 6,000 years old, and that's not, and make it out like leftists and liberals are bad people when we are the people that founded the state to be a secular state that was a safe haven for Jews escaping genocide in other countries. And he is turning it into a country that's as crazy as Saudi Arabia, with the same horrific, and human rights, women's rights have been progressively getting worse, and human rights have been progressively getting worse under Bibi Netanyahu. So it's becoming like Saudi Arabia. I mean, when I was in Jerusalem, I saw Jewish women in burqas. Yeah. There are ultra-Orthodox sects that have women now in burqas, and they vote. They have large families and they vote, and they are part of Bibi's coalition. They're in burqas, and women are to sit in the back of the bus. So they also instigate Jim Crow laws against women. So this is the beginning of the end, right? And if you don't go with Bibi and you're an evil, horrible feminist, well, then, so it's total gaslighting. Whereas I am the last stronghold, right? I am the last stronghold. I am the person who says I am a radical feminist lefty who leans progressive, who understands that the left has been bought out by Qatar and Iran in order to control us. And I fear for our future as the left, as Democrats, if Qatar continues to buy into the Democratic Party and into the left, what will be because they certainly don't care about women's rights and they don't care about affordable health care or any of those things. They care about taking over our country. In that sense, I think the left and the right can come together and say, why is all this foreign money being poured into the United States? Every country lobbies, right? AIPAC, the American-Israeli organization to support Israel because nobody supports Israel, right? They fled Europe because of genocide. They fled all the Muslim countries because of genocide. So there really isn't anywhere else for them to go. They have to make Israel work, right? So they need to have representation. And there's nothing wrong with other countries having representation. But when it gets to the point where they've got so much money like Qatar that, you know, when our country is literally being taken over and our secondary education is getting taken over because we don't want to pay for our kids to get educated, we're just going to let Qatar do it. That all of us should have a problem with that. And the other point is that Judaism is very different than Islam and Christianity. They don't missionize. They're not interested in converts. They're not interested in you joining. In fact, they would tell you, don't bother. So that's the fundamental difference between Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, is that the Jewish numbers don't grow because we don't care what you do. We don't care whether you're Jewish or not. And in fact, we'll probably tell you not to bother. You can become enlightened without of it. Why would you want to be Jewish for? You know, it's like that would be the Jewish response. Why? Oh, are you, are you living a spiritual life? Are you a good person? You know, what's called the 7 Noahide laws. You guys know about the 7 Noahide laws? These are the laws that all human beings, whether they're Jewish or not, must follow during the time of Noah after the flood. So you can't commit murder except in self-defense. You can't steal unless it's because you're starving or something like that, right? You can't commit sexual offenses, sexual crimes, sexual abuse, this sort of thing. You have to construct a system of government that you have a just system. So you have to have some kind of a court system that is going to oversee laws so that people are not running around. So it's not Sodom and Gomorrah. You have to not cheat in your marriage. Open marriage might be a different thing, but you don't commit fraud in your marriage. Let's just put it this way. No marital fraud, no lying and cheating, what we could broadly call marital fraud. You got a little mistress on the side. If it's a person's custom to have an open marriage or more than one spouse, then that's their culture, that's tradition. That wouldn't fall under marital fraud is when you're hiding your finances, when you are hiding your mistress, And then animal abuse is another one. So you can't cut the limb off of a living animal or engage in domestic violence. You can't beat your dog up, because you've had a bad day. Believe in the oneness of God, or a greater understanding of that would be belief in the oneness of God, or another way you could say it is the oneness of all things. The unity principle. Believe in the unity principle, that what you do here is going to have an impact in China. Right? So it falls under Avodah Zorah. So Avodah Zorah would also fall into that. So you worship a rock or a stone, and you put all the power into something that you can contain, and the universal oneness cannot be contained. It is beyond all human understanding. So those are the 7 Noahide laws that we all have to keep. And if you do that, if your path is based on those 7 principles, then you probably are going to be contributing to humanity in a really positive way. And you don't have to be Jewish to do that. So that's the fundamental difference between, say, the philosophy of being Jewish, where it's like, well, do you keep the 7 Noahide laws? Well, what's that? Well, are you abusing animals? Are you committing fraud in your marriage? Are you worshiping a rock and saying all of humanity exists in this rock? Are you sexually abusing people? And it gets to be quite complicated, because sexual abuse can also be can be fraud, when you lie to somebody in order to get access to them sexually. Oh, baby, I'm going to take care of you. That would be considered an act of rape. And the rabbis would actually be stricter and hold that is rape, because she consented to an intimate relationship with you based on a lie. And at that point, you committed rape, just like if you had given her too much alcohol, and she was drunk, so she couldn't give consent. If you bullface lie and defraud someone in order to get access to a sexual relationship, that would also constitute rape. I really wanted to get laid, so I promised her the moon, and I told her, baby, I was going to take you to Paris, and I'm going to marry you tomorrow. All of that would fall under a type of rape, a rape via fraud or deception. Yeah, the rabbinical course, they would make the guy, do you want to marry this guy after everything? You have to marry her, and you have to financially support her in a manner she is accustomed to. That's the law. So you don't want to go pissing those rabbis off. You promised my daughter what exactly? Right? What did you say to my daughter? The rabbi's daughter. What did you tell the rabbi's daughter? That you were going to do this, that, and the other? Animal abuse. Yes, they actually translated in, you cannot cut the limb off of a live animal, because people used to do that when they would make food. The animal would be in the pen, and they would lop off a leg, but they would want the meat to be fresh. So the animal would be writhing in pain. Like, I'll eat the other half tomorrow. So that would be a violation of the law. If you're going to eat meat, it has to be done in a way that is painless and quick as possible. Oh, I can't bear to hear that wolves are being harmed. All right, let's do the empath's prayer, and we will blitz, blitz, blitz away. Good to see everybody here. Yeah, we're doing some Insomniac. I don't have anything to do. It's Friday night. Shabbat Shalom if you practice. Yeah, I studied Torah most of my life. I wanted to be a rabbi when I was younger. Ask me anything about the Torah. I'm not very good on the Talmud, but I'm pretty good on the Torah. If you'd like to receive a healing at this time, go ahead and give us your name or the name of the person you would like to pray us to pray for, and we will include them in our prayers as we come together collectively and we bring in the empath's prayer. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively as a community, we say Amen. And for those of you who are requesting a healing today, we come together at this time and we pray. We pray that you and those you love receive a perfect healing in mind, body, and in spirit. And together again, collectively as a community, we say Amen, Amen, Amen. May all souls be healed. Yeah, so that's my story. And I'm a lonely lefty. I'm a lonely lefty sitting and crying and watching the left dying before me. And what's terrifying is they don't realize it. The dream of Golda Meir is dead. You know, there's the other thing is these right-wing lunatics, these Trump lunatics, right? So we live in scary times. Whoever has the most money wins, and it's what's going to happen to the rest of us, you know? What's going to happen to those of us who actually, you know, these ballistic missiles, if Iran got a hold of Pakistan's nuclear arsenal, we would be at the mercy of these lunatics. We would have to tell them whatever they want to hear. They will blow us up with a nuclear weapon. So what are we going to do then? So it's very, 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 very scary. Yeah. Let's take a look at Elon's future. I know that one of the readers was saying that he will be separated from his money. He needs help. He is a very sick guy, and he's just a sick puppy. You know, 250,000 children died because of Doge. And he basically killed 250,000 black kids. He stole their lunch money because he wanted to, you know, he depicts himself as the kid from Pretoria that was beaten up by thugs in Pretoria, had to go to the hospital. And oh my God, it was so tragic. And when I look at Elon Musk, I think this is a punk from Pretoria, right? He's the punk from Pretoria who's stealing the lunch money of starving black kids so that he can get rockets to Mars. That's pretty damn sick. You know, I was trying to figure out why Benny Gantz walked out of the negotiations on Oasis. Like, what the hell happened? One minute you were discussing Oasis with Elon, and I thought, great, this is happening. I got it to blue and white. I got it to the Unity Party. He's sitting down with Elon Musk. This is great. And then something happened, and Benny Gantz was out. I'm out. And what happened was he started wheeling and dealing with Netanyahu. Well, I can show you the way. I can build Oasis with you. You can? So we have these two right-wing lunatics took over. And Benny Gantz, the humanitarian who was trying to save Palestinian kids because he gives a fuck, because Benny Gantz is a good man, walked out. And it's just like, who are these people to take over Oasis? Because I don't think they give a fuck about humanity. You know? All right, Elon Musk. Is he going down? Is Elon Musk going down? What is the future of Elon Musk? I'll do 4 cards. Inverted death card. This is first. You know what? He needs to take care of his heart health. Drugs and sedentary and eating junk. His health is not good. He's having serious issues with the courts. Look at that. The courts and the legal system internationally will come in and dismantle him. So I agree with what the other reader said. Hopes and fears, an investigation. So these are the 4 cards. Here's the 3. Ew, let me see if I can just switch this up so you guys can see that better. So that was a little weird, wasn't it? All right, much better. All right, this is going to be much better. All right, let's try this again. All right, so the first house is an inverted death card for Elon Musk. That can be a physical death, but we don't predict death. We're not allowed to predict death. We can see some kind of really serious ending for him, and we can see the courts coming in, and his hope and fear card is Hermit, which can be an investigation. So somebody is looking under the hood. I would say he's in very serious trouble. And his final outcome is a war, the Knight of Wands. That's the could be that the fire horse is coming after him. He's a sick puppy. I did a remote and it was very dark and very disturbing. How do you guys want me to tell you some dark stuff? I mean, like, I don't want to upset you guys, but I could tell you guys some really dark stuff about Elon Musk. Do you want the truth about it? I mean, like, it's pretty horrific. It's pretty horrible. So what was going on with Epstein was that Epstein was trying to create designer children with high IQs that looked like fashion models. So he was taking the ovaries from the most beautiful women. He was basically kidnapping the most beautiful young girls in the world, and then he was drugging them, and they were extracting genetic material like eggs from their ovaries, etc. Right? And Elon Musk is interested in this because Elon Musk wants to breed armies, right? So that's his interest with, he and Epstein are very similar. So they're talking about forcibly breeding 14-year-olds that are blonde and blue-eyed for the Aryan cause. The master race, the white intellectuals, the whites who are intellectually superior, and since whites are going extinct, you have to force them. You have to forcibly breed them. So he wants to basically, well, she doesn't have a choice. So Elon's fantasy is insemination by rape. He has rape fantasies. Did any of you feel a weird kind of energy on election day where you felt like you were being sexually assaulted and dominated sexually? Like, did anybody have any weird vibe like that when Trump got elected? That's the energy of Elon. It's this aggressive, forced insemination. This is a guy who will drug 14-year-olds and forcibly and force them to breed. Push that baby out. Keep inseminating her, right? We're talking about a guy who doesn't even want to have sex. He can't be bothered. He can't be bothered having sex with all his baby mamas. It's just, what's her IQ? What's her genetics? Breeder. Hold her down and inseminate her. You have to think in terms of a cause greater than yourself, the future of the white race, right? So this is what Hitler did. This is what they did in Chile, right? When they We're taking the blonde girls out of school. What was that movie, The Butterflies, where they took out the civil rights activists who were feminists, took them out and beat them to death? Selma Hayek played one of the actresses about the revolution in Chile. So that is how dark Elon can get. This is a dark, sick puppy with serious rape and forced breeding fantasies. So when I go into his energy, that's where I go. So that's a psychopath. You know, you have different degrees of cluster B, right? You have a spectrum. So somebody might be sociopath light, right? Thank you. So Marcy says something really important, which is that he's a reptile. He's reptilian. And that's also what they said about Epstein, that one of the girls that was being raped and being drugged and they were taking out genetic material, she said that she had the weirdest feeling when she looked over at him. He literally shapeshifted into a reptile. And you get the impression that Elon is very similar, that he has this just pure, aggressive, look, every woman who's straight wants passion and consensual seduction, right? Consensual seduction. But we're not talking about a man who passionately takes you like in a Jane Austen where you're just saying, kiss me already, damn it. Just lose control and take me, right? That's not a rape fantasy. That's a man who just can't control his passions because he's so in love with you and he carries you off. That's not this guy. This is a reptile. This is reptilian. It's interesting that this comes up for Elon Musk because that is the war king. So who is negotiating Oasis? Elon, right? They want Oasis. But what's it going to look like if this lunatic is, he wants the Marshall Plan. Well, that's a great idea. He wants a Marshall Plan. Who doesn't want a Marshall Plan? But there are real reasons why Benny Gantz walked out, and that's sad to me because I don't think that Benny Gantz knew who he was dealing with. He was like me. Benny Gantz he had not come out yet and endorsed. He hadn't endorsed Trump yet. And so we thought, Benny Gantz and I, that we were dealing with somebody. We were naive. I was naive, and I gave it to Benny Gantz originally. I know people have asked who I gave it to. I also gave it to the prime minister. He is the prime minister. But this was Benny Gantz's baby. This was unity. And we thought we had an ally. I will not start crying. I'm not going to start crying, but that's my man right there. That's Benny Gantz. Now, this guy, Benny Gantz, that's a real man. That is a real man. That's Benny Gantz. Benny Gantz wants unity. He wants all these settlers on the West Bank with their Jewish country clubs. You're going to start opening your doors and Palestinians are going to start living next to you. Unity. We're all going to kumbaya. Either you learn to get along or we're going to tear this whole thing down. He is the good father. That is a very good man right there. The Unity Party. And so he was, let's build communities of unity on the border. And let's love each other. Let's feed people. Let's raise them up. We had six zones. The six, there it is. And it's just this fucking psychopath took it, and I can't even, tied up and restricted. He can't get access to his money. I agree with what Susan said. This guy cannot get out. Look at that. He's tied up, death. Look at these courts coming in his house of opposition. There's a good man going after him. Benny Gantz is the king of cups. I know I love Benny. I love Benny. I love him so much. Benny and the Jets. Dun, dun, dun. We got to do it. Benny, please become my prime minister and save my country. I love him so much. A good man is in his house of opposition, along with the courts. Hopes and fears. Look at this. A hidden investigation. The high priestess will reveal that which is hidden, and the investigation is the hermit. Something hidden this way comes. Something hidden this way comes. Rinky dinky Tabby, right? This is inverted 10 of Pentacles. He will lose his legacy. Can you imagine all those screwed up kids he reproduced for his legion? All these people that bought into his Nazi fantasies about his high IQ, that I don't think his IQ's even been tested. Actually, that's true. Even I do think he's very smart, but yeah. So basically, it's saying, excuse me, it's saying that there's an investigation. A good man's going after him. He will. He's in serious trouble. Elon's in very serious trouble. Yeah. It's not good. Not good at all for him. It looks to me and it feels like the international courts will come in. They're after him. It's important to be moral. Yes, you got to be an ethical person. Well, sorry, I've got post-nasal drip. Let's talk about that. What do you guys think happened on the election other than the fact that Elon was raping us? I felt raped. I felt very sexually dominated. It felt energetically like I was being raped. That's how I knew we had lost the election. Yeah, like he was ramming it down us, like he was forcing it. Did he steal Pennsylvania? Does Biden hold some responsibility? What's Biden's personal responsibility in this? Should we have had a primary? Did we have time for a primary? Should Biden have stepped down? Did Biden sabotage Harris by making her a little girl standing by the desk, not allowed to open her mouth, silencing her, preventing her from speaking? Did that weaken her in the eyes of the public? She felt so. She was not allowed to come into her power or was she a bad decision as VP? Did he screw up by not making her AG? Would we be in a very different place if the Attorney General had been Harris? I think so. Elon is going to keep having kids until he finds one that he likes. Do you think he'll ever find a kid that he likes? He hates his trans daughter. His trans daughter said, I was made in a test tube by a man who paid big money to make sure that my gender was male. My gender was a economic transaction. He was going to force me to have a male gender, whether I was male or not. You know, if his first child was going to be born with the soul of a female, he was going to force that kid to be male, whether the soul coming in was female or not. It's another way of looking at it, right? And his own insanity has kept him from having a relationship with a really remarkable woman. You know, his daughter is, God, who wouldn't love to have a daughter like her? She moved to Japan. She speaks Japanese. She plays a concert of a pianist. I mean, like, God dang, what the hell? What more do you want? She's a fashion model on the run. Like, you know how many people have prayed that they could have a child? Prayed that they could have a child so beautiful and special and talented and wonderful, and you just flushed your baby daughter down the toilet because she identified as a woman, as female. Like, that is some screwed up crap. And, you know, why did he approve the gender reassignment? From Vivian Jenna's perspective, he didn't give a damn. He didn't give a damn about his kids. I don't care what the hell you do. I'm completely apathetic. He never cared about his kid. I don't care. Do what the hell you want. But now you care. Now all of a sudden you're upset that your son Xavier has changed his gender. And Xavier, he says, my son is a lost, twisted child, and I grieve every day the death of my son. Get to see a goddamn psychiatrist, you fruitcake. You didn't give a damn about that child. When that child was going through gender reassignment and going through therapy and getting analyzed and having all the genetic testing and everything else that has to go in before you make a decision like that, if it's done properly, you don't want to make a mistake. You do want to do DNA testing. You want to see if it's an XXY child or intersexed, or if anti-murulin hormone mutation, or if you may want to look at brain imaging. Sure, you want to look at that stuff. You don't want to screw someone's life up. You want to make sure mistakes have been made. We want to make sure that people that are getting gender reassignment, it's the right choice. But he signed off on it no problem, because he didn't give a damn whether his kid was alive or dead, let alone whether or not she had gender reassignment. Now all of a sudden he's some sob story that he's all upset. Meanwhile, he's attacking his baby, his daughter in public. Look, what do you see? A psychiatrist, man? That's some sick shit. Even if you did have trouble coming to terms with it, and it's none of your damn business, it's her body, not yours. Your job as a father is not to bash trans people and bash your daughter in the public in front of, 7 billion people or whatever. What kind of parent would do that? You're evil. You're evil. I'm sorry. Never mind what you did to killing all those African kids. I'm a lefty, man. I'm a lefty. I'm just not bought out by Qatar and Iranian money. When Trump got elected, I was convinced it was rigged. Yeah. Yeah, we sure did. Giving people $1 million if they say they're a Republican and they're going to vote for all this other crazy stuff he did, lock the frick up. I'm sorry. Throw them in a prison cell. Lock them up. Would it be more efficient to build an android army? Let's take a look at building android armies. I think it's terrifying because I've had visions of them using AI bulldozers to clear protesters. And that they're going to start putting these bulldozers in the front of stores in parking lots in predominantly Black neighborhoods. So you're out with your kids and you decide to stop at a local Whole Foods or whatnot, and it's in a predominantly Black, well, they don't usually put healthy stuff, that's redlining, but say you're going to a store and you're going shopping with your kids, and there are bulldozers set up in the parking lot to make sure that no crowds form. And the next thing you know, these things go wonky. I saw them going wonky, and they began attacking crowds of innocent people in parking lots where they were being scooped up and attacked by these bulldozers. That these AI crowd control machines, they weren't people. It's not ergonomic to have them be like people. They were more like machines that scooped people up and plowed through crowds. And at that point, democracy is dead. That also tells me that that's where we're headed. That they're going to start putting these machines up. And the problem is that the machines could go wonky and just start attacking crowds of people. And that was my vision. And we were running, and they were like mowing people down. They were like massive big machines, and people were screaming, and you couldn't protest and you couldn't organize because the military deployed them. So anytime we would try and protest, they would bring them out and they would just mow through. They didn't even need an army anymore. They just needed somebody to control these machines that would go into any protest. And what was terrifying is you have regimes like Iran that would definitely use those to clamp down on protests. So the protests we're seeing right now in Iran, those won't be possible with this new AI, with these new machines that can just mow people down. Hey, it's great. Our ICE agents won't be hurt anymore. Isn't that great? We won't wound the ICE agents. We won't wound the military. We'll just wound the protesters. That is my fear of where we're headed with AI. Android army. The chariot, right? The Jeep. Just looking around, looking and mowing down protesters. You send a few of those out. The House of Opposition to it all. I'm worried also about if we don't comply, we could lose our home, we could lose our finances, we could lose everything. So you have this aggressive kind of plowing coming in, and then the opposition is us in the home trying to be stable. The hope and fear is King of Cups. I keep seeing this peacekeeper coming in, and then the final outcome is Two of Wands, which is partnership. We've got to get somebody in there that can protect us. We have to get people in DC that are not corrupted, that have not taken money from Iran. I just found out that Mamdani's campaign took millions from not just Iran, but Qatar, and that Qatar had given millions to Mamdani's mom. So that would be an example of a country with a horrific human rights violations infiltrating progressives in the left. They have no place in our movement, I'm saying as a leftist. I don't want to see dirty money in our movement. I haven't stopped being a leftist. I will die a leftist. What I'm saying is, as a leftist, I'm a purist. And I don't want countries with horrific human rights violations buying our party leaders. You know? Oh, I'm a diehard lefty. I'm not going to play into Netanyahu. Well, you better join my party because the left is corrupted. Honey, I will never join your party. If the left is corrupted, then we need to take care of that. But I will never freaking be an Ayn Rand supporter. Oh, interesting. Yeah, you know, you worry about them being hacked and everything else. And system failures. Yeah, exactly. Very true, Galactic Gale. Very, very true. Yeah, I was really hoping that that Elon was going to be this amazing person that was going to pour money into Oasis, and then I found out about him. Benny Gantz found out about him. And it's heartbreaking to feel like finally we're going to get someone to pour money into unity and safe zones for Palestinians and Jews to grow up without prejudice, with tolerance. Finally, we're going to do this. Finally, we're going to get a Marshall Plan. Finally, what I prayed for, and then to have it just be taken by a psychopath. You know, I still believe in Oasis, but we got to control him. Let's take a look at Bibi, the future of Netanyahu. I hope it's prison. I can tell you as an Israeli, I'd like to see him go to prison. He's destroyed my country. So I'd like to see him go to prison. All right, the future of Bibi. You know, the crazy stuff they're passing in the Knesset right now. They just gave billions and millions of dollars to the ultra-Orthodox so they can sit around, eat cake, and read Torah all day long, have large families, and they think the earth is 6,000 years old. The earth is 6,000 years old. They don't think marriage, as soon as you can, they probably will lower the marriage age. You know, in the Bible, it was 12 years and 1 day that a girl could marry. They probably want to take it back to that. With permission, you can marry under 18 in Israel. I fear that if those lunatics get power, it's good because they're already shoving women into the back of the bus and into burqas. The Tal or whatever they're called. I couldn't believe it. It gets worse and worse. I was just in Jerusalem and I saw Jewish women walking around in burqas like it was Saudi Arabia. I'm like, what the hell is this? Oh, it's a new sect of, they're more extreme than the extreme. And every year they become more and more crazy and more extreme. And instead of encouraging integration and primary education and know the earth is not flat, they're giving them all this money to fill their heads with insane ideas. And they test these kids and They can't get past a 5th grade reading level. I mean, well, they read okay, but they have a 5th grade level of math, no science education, and they're taking over the government. It's terrifying. You think about Golda Meir she was a socialist, a democratic socialist. They were building the kibbutzes, the communist and the socialist. Ben Gurion started off as a communist, but then he, because they were communes, they were communists, there were Bolsheviks that had fled Eastern Europe, the Tsar, and they were creating a secular communist societies in these communes under the Turkish. Palestine used to be Turkey. And it was going to, and Jews and Arabs were living together, building these communes in Turkey. There was integration was happening, and integration would have succeeded if they had been left the fuck alone, right? And then you had these religious nutters show up, Johnny-come-latelys that wanted nothing to do with the secular state because they were waiting for Messiah to come. No, we don't support the state. We're waiting for the Messiah to come, right? So then after all the fighting and the dying and the building of this democratic socialist utopia where they were finally growing oranges and feeding the people and the Holocaust survivors, and they finally, we built something here. Then all these religious nut jobs showed up and said, well, we're taking over now. Bibi, he will lose the election. Elections are coming up in May. He's going to lose. His house of opposition going nowhere. 8 of Wands. Inverted. Hopes and fears. He fears that the truth will come out about him. I think he's a Putin puppet. I think he was in Putin's pocket. I think he was shocked when October 7th happened and Putin's hand was all over it. I think that Bibi was shocked that Putin helped in the massacre, planning it with Hamas. Look at this. He's facing incarceration. He's under investigation for taking bribes from Qatar. He took bribes from Qatar, and then Qatar helped pay for Hamas to kill people on October 7th. Hamas and Putin. So he was taking money from Putin. He was taking money from Qatar, and then Putin and Qatar came in and slaughtered 1,200 Jews under Bibi, while Bibi claimed to be protecting Israel. So this happened to us because of Netanyahu and because of his leadership. So it's not looking good for Netanyahu. Thank God. Benny Gantz could have more power going forward. There's a man over him who's a king of cups. Please, God, I hope it's Benny. He's going to be denied access to money under his leadership. He has so polarized the world that people are divesting from Israel because of him. Hopes and fears. Look at that. Economic collapse of the country. He fucking destroyed everything. Lock him up. Drag him out. His work is finished. Inverted 8 of Pentacles. Bibi's finished. Bibi's finished. Bibi is done. Baby going nowhere. I hope you're all happy about. Well, I try to cheer y'all up. Oh, Whimsy, you just gave us so much happiness. Thank you. Just remember, the guy to watch, we got to lift up Benny Gantz. Benny Gantz is where it's at. Why can't the U.S. have a unity party? I think the closest to the unity party would be Bernie Sanders. Yep. Mm-hmm. 4 a.m. Isle of Man has the best. Oh, you guys, I'll be in London in a couple of weeks. That'll be fun. Happiness is an activity of the soul in accordance with complete virtue. Oh, yeah. Did Elon help Trump? Oh, don't you? Well, come on. I mean, don't we already know this? This is so sick. I mean, they're both sick. I can't. They're such disgusting people. It's just really sick. So if Elon goes down, it looked like from his cards he was going down. Isn't he the bank of Oasis? Well, he's been pitching heavily, right? So trying to get MBS to be a part of it. You know, one of the things that we did was we asked MBS if, let's go ahead and let's merge your Oasis, because MBS has I'm not a fan of him, but he does have an Oasis he's building, and there is an Oasis that was discovered that 6,000 years ago in Saudi that looks a hell of a lot like my Oasis, right? 6 zones. This was a couple months ago. There's everybody paying for Oasis. Oh, Elon's feeling about it is that he thinks I'm a spoiled brat and that he put his ass on the line for me. That's what Elon thinks. I put my fucking ass on the line for you. Nothing makes you happy. I would have look, I don't need to have dinner at the White House, but I'd like to know what the fuck is going on. Yeah. Enjoy your fucking dinner. I wouldn't have wanted to be there. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I would like to at least know what the hell you're doing with my formula. So I don't have any control over it, right? I don't. At this point, it's in his hands. He has the power. I know that my mentor, Benny Gantz, has walked out. That can't be good. So he's got the Oasis in his back pocket, and now he's meeting with MBS about Oasis, and I'm tearing my hair out. I have no power. I'm just a peace activist, trying to, build peace zones. And, it's not something that I have any control over. That's the truth. So, what do you do with that? I don't know. We have to pray that there are enough good people building Oasis that genuinely want peace and are not out to just kill all the Jews or kill all the Palestinians or build prisons for the people, turn Oasis into a prison. That's my fear, is that it's going to become a worker camp. A lot of people here were not very fond of Harris because they knew nothing about her. I think that people worried that a progressive and the left were getting taken over by Iranian and Qatari money, but the Republicans were as well, and that she was going to just, what are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. And that all these progressives with Iranian money, which has, and its horrific human rights record, were going to start manipulating Harris, and that she was not going to take out Iran. She was just going to bow to pressure, and then this nightmare was never going to end, and then they were going to start having nuclear warheads on there. But we already know they have ballistic missiles because they're firing ballistic missiles at Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Jordan, Israel, and everybody else. So they go up into space and they fire down these cluster bombs. I mean, these are extremely dangerous weapons, and it just takes one nuclear warhead to and goodbye Israel. And it's easy to be laissez-faire when it's not your friends and family that are hiding in bunkers, or your kid that got killed on October 7th. And you're not being held hostage by these nut jobs. But that is, in fact, what will happen if these nut jobs get a nuclear weapon. It's very dangerous. Pakistan is very dangerous. If Pakistan falls to religious extremists, they're barely holding on. They deported 1 million Taliban supporters. They deported 1 million Taliban supporters. Sent them to Afghanistan. Threw them out of Pakistan. But there's enough support in Pakistan for the Taliban that Osama bin Laden was able to hide inside of Pakistan at a fancy place, courtesy of the Pakistani military. So what does that say about the stability of those nuclear warheads? If they're hosting Taliban leadership. And that is why Obama was up at night. And that is why Iran had to fall. It's not about whether or not they can build nuclear weapons. It's not about that. It's about whether or not they can get a hold of one. And they share a border with Pakistan and Afghanistan. And that's the conversation. You love who to death? Oh, I don't know who that refers to. Okay. Yeah, no Whole Foods. Yeah, plenty of liquor stores and crappy and junk food. And the banks won't give loans to independent grocers that are trying to bring nutritious food to those. Don't get me started. Lindsey Graham. Any feelings you guys have about Lindsey Graham? All right, let's take a look at Miss Lindsay. What's the future of Lindsey Graham? Miss Lindsay, what's going to happen? Star. Public, I feel like there's a humiliating exposure. Sasha Barros saw him in 1983 when he was sold to Epstein. Epstein, I think, bought him when there was out of Oklahoma. A couple kids were bought out of Oklahoma, and Sasha Barros was one of the kids that was sold to rich pedophiles. I believe they were shipped to Michigan. Is that right? And that was right around the time that Epstein began to look into human trafficking. And when some of those younger kids wound up, pregnant, their baby was, one girl's baby was killed and in front of Trump and then thrown in Lake Michigan to drown. Epstein was in town because he had been teaching at a school in Michigan. And so the dates actually work because he was involved with and was a patron of that school in Michigan. So he was going back and forth out of Michigan. I did a deep dive. I used Grok to investigate, and Grok said his activities were opaque at this time. Well, according to Sasha Barros, he was sniffing around and looking about purchasing kids and making money on human trafficking. By the time that we hear about him in 2004, he had evolved from poor kids out of, getting poor kids out of Oklahoma. And now he was looking for the richest, most attractive kids. So he was snatching kids from beauty contests, right? So that he could get more money from more expensive clients. And this was the time, 83, when, I don't know, it was a party at Nantucket or something where they had been shipped in. And that goes back to the remotes I've done, where I'm Miss Lindsay and I talk about that party I went to in Nantucket. And I did some things, and there might be some pictures. I was at a party. Where were you? Talk to the HCRB practitioner. Where were you, Lindsay? I was at a party. Where? Nantucket. Okay, so I have a location. You were at a party in Nantucket. Martha's Vineyard, that area. And you did some things. This is what I get. So Sasha Barros was so drugged, he doesn't know who was touching him what, but he remembered Lindsey Graham and Justice Thomas being at that party. So they shipped him into Michigan, they shipped him into Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard, which conveniently is where Dershowitz lives. And you start to realize that these crazy stories you're hearing from Sasha Barros, it's all starting to come together. And as a remote viewer, it's very disturbing for me because I didn't know Sasha Barros when I had that conversation a few years ago, and he told me I was in Nantucket or I went to the parties in Martha's Vineyard. I didn't know Dershowitz was living at Martha's Vineyard. that there's a whole team of pedophiles having parties in Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. Gatsby believed in the green light. The great Gatsby, he believed in the green light. He believed that in true love, you know. But he was a bootlegger in that area, right? With all those rich society people that were corrupted and having parties, and there were little boys and little girls. There were a lot of slight references to naughty behavior. And the bootlegger was observing these things, and it turned out that the bootlegger was the nicest person there, right? The Great Gatsby. Trump had a Great Gatsby-themed party for Christmas, right? Creepy, creepy. That's creepy. Hopes and fear for Lindsey Graham. Inverted Ace of Swords. Final outcome. A man comes. A hidden man. What if it's Sacha Baron? Surprised he's still alive. There's confusion over Lindsey Graham. He doesn't know what's happening. His house of opposition. He's beginning to have health problems because strength is in the house of opposition. Look at this. He's going down with the ship. He is going down with the ship. Interesting. He's going to watch everything burn down, and he's not going to be able to do anything about it. Some power coming over him. I think he ruined his career. I think that this president will be gone. I think that there will be a massive expose on Trump. And I think that with those cards, Inverted Ace of Swords with Tower, on some level, Lindsey Graham knows he's going down. But that's all I got from him. I can't force somebody to talk to me as a remote viewer. I do HCRV, Vajrayana Buddhism. We give our heart to the target. Target gives their heart to us. And I don't know what he meant. You know, he just kept saying the same thing over and over again. I was at a party. Okay, you were at a party. It was in Nantucket. You went to Nantucket and you went to a party. I don't even want to think about it. Years ago, I read a book by David Wilcock. He predicted too much of what we see in the movies. Ain't that the truth? Truth is stranger than fiction. Mad Max. Oh, did they have that in the movie Mad Max? I don't really watch those types of movies. His birth chart sits perfect over Edgar Case's. It looks like him. He said he'd reincarnated when David Wilcock was born. I don't know who David Wilcock is. If Elon is going to Mars, why does he care about human army made by breeding humans? He's team human. So he can, let me explain it, because I've done that remote. He's going to build a big starship, like the Starship Enterprise, and it's going to be able to house a colony of humans, and they're all going to be his legions. This makes no sense because they can't have sex with each other because you're the father of all of them. And he will be like Abraham, who his children will be as vast as the stars, and my children will go to the stars, right? And we will colonize other planets, and I will land that colony on Mars with those thousands of people, those legions of little Elons, males, which again makes no sense. They'll die out because men don't have uteruses. So, okay, that was an interesting experiment. Okay, 80 years later, they're all dead. A goodbye colony on. Oh, what are you thinking? This doesn't make sense. And they all have a Y chromosome. They all have your Y chromosome. This doesn't make sense. You know, and I built a legion, and my men landed, and there were no females, and then they were dead in a couple of years. You haven't really thought this through, have you, Elon? Or do you just, people are going to be, they're going to just get rid of women altogether, since you're probably secretly gay, like most of the people who bash trans and gay people? I bet you 10 to 1. We should just send Elon Musk ladies' underwear. We know what you really want, Elon. We're going to send you some frilly little underwear. Yeah. Oh, why not? He'd probably, pink underwear. He'd love it. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. But that's his fantasy. Yeah. We're going to land and we're going to build the new colony, even though they can't have sex with each other, Elon. First off, they could, but they'd be brothers for the Legion. This makes no sense. Okay. Okay. Well, this guy sounds like he's not legitimate, so. AI is scary. I think it does some good stuff, but like everything in life, it can be, new science can be not much. How to manipulate people. He thinks about how to manipulate people, bribing religious people, and yes, I'm the best thing that's happened to Israel, while torturing and oppressing anybody and everybody. And then you're surprised that people got mad and are attacking. If you had worked towards integration and cooperation like Benny Gantz and love people and just give people what they need, eventually terrorism would decline because the needs of the people would be met. That's the theory of the Unity Party. We're not talking about being blind and letting terrorists come in and rape. We're talking about a controlled space where you start with 3% of the population, and then the economic benefits of Oasis bleed into the surrounding economies, and it creates a bridge that attracts more applicants and more moderation, and then it snowballs until eventually, within 2 to 3 generations, you have a collapse of terrorism because the needs of I've done the studies, folks. It's my dissertation. This is my dissertation. I am the doctor that wrote the thesis. The needs of the people will be met. That's what happened with the Marshall Plan in Japan. You know, people were dive bombing, kamikaze, right? Banzai, right? Only they say you're not supposed to say banzai. You're supposed to say kakai or something like, I don't know. My dad was in the military, and he said that we used to sweep them off the deck because they would crash, and my dad was in the Navy, and he was the sweeper. And he would sweep these kamikaze incoming, and they would get down, and they would feel it, and then they were, okay, all clear, and then they would sweep them off the deck. Yeah, he was in the South Pacific. And he got hit by a tornado, a Japanese tornado, And he said it was the most terrifying thing that had ever happened, because I think he was in the bathroom, down in the bathroom or something. He felt, and he knew immediately. And he said this cold terror came over him, like, I'm dead. I'm dead. I don't know how they were able to get out of it, but yeah, his ship was hit by a Japanese torpedo, and in the South Pacific. Mm-hmm. He got taken out of. He was in San Francisco. He got drafted into the Navy. They put him on one of those boats in San Francisco and sent him off to the South Seas. He was like 21 or something. I don't know. Terrifying. Somehow he was able to escape. They were able to get lifeboats or call for help or something. But I mean, just absolutely terrible. Why is this night different than any other night before? Why is this night different than any other night before? All right. Anyone familiar with that Shriner gal that was, I was singing a Pesach song. Anyone familiar with that Shriner gal that was warning us about reptilians and our political leaders? Well, honestly, I believe in it. I didn't believe in any of that alien stuff until I saw the crash and I saw a UFO. It was visiting my house every night as a child. And I thought, it's got to be a blimp. There aren't any blimps like that. A round saucer with blinking lights going like this, and it would go sideways. No, this is a UFO in Portland in 1974, I think it was, 75. Hovering over my house every night. I think it was trying to make contact with me. Hey, Whimsy, we want you to build the Oasis one. You're actually an important. I'm having a hard childhood. We're trying to make contact with you, Whimsy. You're going to be important one day. As a tarot card reader? No, you're going to write a dissertation, and this crazy nut job Elon is going to buy it. Yeah, every night over my house, there was a floating saucer, and I would go out as a kid. I'm talking 2 a.m. in the summer, and I would just stand and watch literally a UFO over my house. And the weird thing is, nobody noticed. Look, there's a UFO on top of my house on 19th and Quimby in Northwest Portland. You would think everybody would be out looking at this thing, right? Why am I the only one? And this thing got low. I mean, I could see this thing vividly. It was a saucer-shaped craft. It had lights around it like this, and it would rotate the lights, and then it would go this way and be rotating the lights, and then it would go this way, and it would come to visit me every night. And I would just come out and I would look at it and, what do you want? Are you aliens? What? Because I cry and I'm having a sad childhood, is that why you came to help me? Are you going to come to take me? I was hoping they would take me away from my horrible life. Please take me away. Please take me away. I don't know what the hell was going on, but it's a true story. And I don't know why anybody else didn't talk about this. Other people were laughing at me. My sister, I said, do you see the UFO? Oh, that's probably a blimp. It's not a blimp. It's a UFO. Oh, it's a blimp. A round saucer-shaped blimp with rotating lights? I've never seen. There's no blimp like that in 1975. Yeah, I think I was about 12, 13 years old, maybe 14 maximum. So it had to be 75, 76. It was right at, I know Carter had probably already been elected. And I've searched the archives, any photographs of that UFO that was over Portland in 1975, 76, right around that time. And I can't find anything. And I've had people who are like experts at contactees say to me, and then what would you do? I'm like, I would just watch it. And it was there every night. And I would speak to it. And then I would go back into the house. You go back into the house. So you would come out every night and you would see this craft over your house. Yeah. And you would talk to it and then you would go back to, yeah. And this went on for a year, 2 years, 3. It went on for like at least a whole summer. I remember it was happening in the spring, and I remember going to Metropolitan Learning Center, Cooch School, and saying to people, hey, did you see the UFO that was out last night? And they began cracking jokes like, yeah, sure, we saw the alien. No, there's a real UFO. It's floating above my house, and I'm telling the truth. This thing is huge, and it's right over my house. Nobody would believe me. And people would see it. I would say, do you not see there's a saucer on top of our house? Oh, yeah. That's probably a blimp. It's not a blimp. It's a saucer. And it's rotating. And it's going this way and this way. I don't know what the hell happened to people. I had no idea what the hell was going on. Like, why is nobody doing anything about this? Like, it was the strangest. I to this day, I don't know why everybody ignored me. And I don't know why nobody else was coming and looking. And it was just the strangest thing in the world. It was like it was like everybody was in a daze. Like nobody was looking up, nobody was seeing it, I was the only one watching it. And I couldn't get anyone's attention. So people who talk to me who are experts in this field say, do you have any missing time? I don't know. I know I have lived a remarkable life. I have done things that are impossible, that should not have happened. And maybe there's a connection. Foster kids. I had a very violent child. My father had problems. My mother took off. So I was raised without a mother. Violent, angry dad. It was a very unhappy childhood. Dropped out of high school. Things should not have turned out the way that they did. I had a kind of metaphysical aid. Well, I was kept very safe, which is it was safer than I should have. Hitchhiked across Europe, jumped into car, never got raped. Thank God. Stayed safe, was a model, going to auditions. Hi, nothing happened. Like if I have guardian angels, they were watching me 24/7. I was sleeping in fields. I feel like camping here tonight. Like I just had this blind faith, and it went to Israel, lived in Israel for 5.5 years, went back to school, got my doctoral degree. October 7th happened. I had a breakdown, as many Israelis did. Started having dreams after the alien crash, after the Nevada crash. I started having vivid dreams that I was in an underground base. because I was trying to figure out the alien crash in Nevada. This is a true story. And I had the strangest dream that I was taken to an underground base. And Sandra Oh from Grey's Anatomy showed up in a white coat and said, "Hi, I'm Lucy, and I'm the female researcher that you can see in the film footage of the crash over in Nevada." Well, that's a Grey, and you're not a Grey. You're Sandra Oh, the actress from Grey's Anatomy. And she said, "I'm just appearing like this to you in the dream state so that you'll be comfortable talking with me. And in my world, I'm also a doctor. I'm also a researcher, and I wanted to have a conversation with you about Oasis 1. You know about my peace plan, and we're going to help you. We're going to help you, Whimsy. We're going to help you do this. And you need to trust us, and we're going to show you how to do it. We're going to show you how to build a new trade route." Well, I'm just a little whimsy. I read tarot cards. Trust yourself, Whims. I worked really aggressively for 72 hours. Screamed to the universe, this has to happen. This has to happen. I contacted the spokesman for the IDF through Facebook. And he said a couple days later, "Okay, the IDF war cabinet's ready to go. We're ready for your proposal. Send it on." So I sent it to him. And he turned around and handed it to the war cabinet. That was November 21st. And within a couple days, the war cabinet was sitting around talking about my data. And Elon Musk walked through the front door and said, "I want to rebuild. Do you got to rebuild?" And they started laughing and said, "Well, as a matter of fact, we do. We were just going over the Oasis 1, which was submitted to us a couple days ago. You want to take a look?" So Elon Musk took a look at it and said, "We're going to do this." True story. And that was 72 hours after my dream that I was talking to aliens. Now, that could be my subconscious working with me, creating a crazy dream. Or I made contact with something that is very committed, some species that, look, this is not a normal story, you guys. This doesn't make any sense. And yet it happened. The impossible happened. And I can't explain it because I'm a rational. I do tarot cards, but I can be a rational scientist. And I just have no idea what the hell happened. That's the truth. Oh, you loved Golda Meir. We all did. But she would not recognize what this monster has done to the country. She wanted unity and to build kibbutzes of unity. They tore down our kibbutzes. They shut down our kibbutzes. They're trying to crush the democratic socialism. Unfortunately, the Quran is filled with all kinds of kill the disbeliever, kill the Jew and Christian if they do not accept it, or you charge them a jizm, which is a tax that all non-believers must pay if you live in a Muslim country. Either convert or you have to pay the jizm. No, he's leaving. No way, man. I'm better at criticizing politicians. Yeah, get away from religion. I'm like Golda Meir, and if there was a Messiah that was going to bring the Jews together, it was David Ben-Gurion. David Ben-Gurion is my Messiah. You know, that was good enough. For me, as a secular Jew, that's good enough. Create a place where we can go and stay alive. Not as a religious place, but as a place just we can go and be safe, not to conquer or occupy anybody, to live in to return to our ancestral homeland in cooperation and love, building peace zones. That I think we can all get down with that. That's hope we do the same thing here in America rather than building reservations. Wouldn't that be great? I don't think that that's true. He doesn't have the votes. He's got 27% support. So it would take a miracle at this point. Excuse me. It would take a miracle. That is he's a very violent guy. But there's a part of you that has to be pragmatic. You have to work with Netanyahu. You have to work. If you're going to build Oasis, you have to work with the people in charge and just pray that eventually those countries will be free. The women will be free. I mean, they execute women for witchcraft in Saudi Arabia. You know, I did a letter writing campaign to try and keep a Jordanian woman. She was a poor maid. She had been brought in to clean houses. She couldn't read or write. She was illiterate, Palestinian woman from Jordan. And a man saw her in her bathrobe and was convinced that she was a witch casting spells. Meanwhile, she was just picking up the milk in her bathrobe. Maybe he was not used to seeing women out of burqa. And so he went to the Muslim courts and said, "A witch has cast an evil spell on me." And so, because I can't get an erection anymore, it can't be because I'm old and I've got congestive heart failure and my coronary arteries are hardening. No, it can't be that. It's got to be the old, illiterate maid across the street who I saw in her bathrobe collecting the milk in the morning, right? So they arrested her and charged her with witchcraft because this guy couldn't get an erection. And she was facing execution charges. Her family was freaking out, begging, "Please, please, Mohammed bin Salman, please spare our mother is not a witch. She's an old woman. Please show mercy." And the court's decision, the last we had heard, was, for the good of the country, we will kill her because this is just creating too much. People are too upset. So for the good of the people, we will chop her head off for witchcraft. It is good and righteous that we do so. We will sever her head. You have voting rights in the UN. Yes, and the Jews. It's the Jews. We must kill all the Jews. They're oppressing us. You should not have voting rights in the UN if you are putting women to death for witchcraft. You should not have voting rights if you're stoning women to death who have been raped. You don't get to have a seat at the table in the UN until you can clean up your own human rights record. Elon said he did it. He's saying he's not helping again. He told Orange Face, "I will destroy you." I can't read this. I said he would take away his contracts if he helped the Democrats. And Elon said, "You forget I have more money than you will." I don't know what your source is, but I'd love to see that. Mila, stop it. Having an allergic reaction to something. I don't know what it is. My throat is closing. Yeah, it's really scratchy. I don't know what's setting me off. Something's setting me off. Mila? Yes, I love you. Come here. You want to say hi to people? Come here. Come say hi. Hold on. You guys want to see my cat? Oh my God, these allergies. Here's the monster. Oops. Midnight snack. You want to eat something? You want to eat something? Yes. No. Yes. You want some food? You want to go pee-pee? Yeah. If I go pee-pee, she follows me into the bathroom. She follows me into the bathroom so she can get food from me. I keep her food and water bowl in there. Oh my God. Wouldn't it be great if we could take away his citizenship? Oh my God. My throat is so scratchy right now. Yeah, I think he says that he was going to stay out of politics. He's going to continue to be his horrible racist self. Who is scared of gay people and trans people, and we all know what that's about. Time for you to put on the pink underwear. Send him some frilly pink underwear. Yeah, there's a couple hundred of us, not 4,000 like the other readers. Yes, because I won't say that I'm on the side of Iran. Yeah. That's the state of our politics. That's the state of the Democratic Party right now. That should scare the fuck out of you. Trump is a tool. It was planned years ago, and he needs to be removed. Yep. It's already being taken over by terrorists. The Palestinian territories, they don't have good leadership. Their leadership is corrupted. The people... We need to integrate them into the general population through Oasis at the borders and begin inviting the top 3 percentile that wants to create peace with Israelis and give them the opportunity for a beautiful life for them and their children and jobs. But most men in positions of power, I'm sorry to say, don't give a damn. They just want to keep the crap going. They just want to keep the crap going. Just keep killing. Just keep making people angry and vengeful, which is what Netanyahu is good at. Just keep smashing people's skulls and beating people up in order to subvert them. No, you're just creating future terrorists. You know, your way, you kissing Putin and sucking the whatever of Qatar led to 1,200 dead Jews and plenty of dead Palestinians in Gaza. You don't care. Your way is you are a nightmare. You are, never mind what you've done to the average Israeli person when you shut down the kibbutz system. And crushed the socialism that built our country. I understand that some kibbutzes were failing and that we had to get it together economically, but that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. Oh, you're a supporter of RFK Jr. Okay. Well, as long as he's not, trying to hurt at people. Yeah, Lindsay's got some issues. Clutch my pearls. Lindsay flip-flopped after golfing with Trump, and it looks very suspicious why Miss Lindsay could go from detesting Trump to being his biggest cheerleader. Good point. Oh, said love him to death, even though he's a Trumper. Oh, you love your son? Sure, he's your son. You know, you don't want politics to get between you and your kid. You just have to remember your kid has a good heart, and you know, for whatever reason he got pulled into this cult. Mila, stop it! Now she's biting me. She wants me to follow her. She's so fat. She needs to go on a diet. Remember that Life Touch, which does all the school picture, are done for the U.S. They were easily spotting the children to take AMD. Okay, I don't really. According to Sasha Barros, one of the children in the early days, 1983, when Epstein was starting to get involved with these groups, he saw two people at the parties, Justice Thomas and Lindsey Graham. Thomas stuck out to him because he was the only black man in the room. And he said that, sorry if that's offensive to anyone, he said, but it got my attention. Like, that's weird. And that was Justice Thomas. He also saw Lindsey Graham, but he was not ready to accuse Lindsey Graham of anything because he was so drugged out at one point that he had no idea who was touching him or how they were touching him or what was going on, because they had him pumped up full of a ton of drugs. So, oh, you met Dershowitz? Yeah, he's a sociopath. His first wife threw herself to her death. God only knows what the hell he did to her. Yes, the hunting party incident that took place in Canada, where the Canadian government wanted to speak with Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip about accusations of Native American school kids. What's scary is that they've scrubbed the internet, because it was fact-checked a few years ago that they were under investigation, and now it's saying something very different, and that freaks me out, because it's like they're erasing the past. AI, certain newspapers, etc., are scrubbing the past. But many Native American children were beaten to death in Catholic schools and various different institutions which were overseen in Canada. And the story is that the royal family had gone to an event with some of those institutions, and Prince Philip suggested a picnic, which turned out to be a hunting party. And 12 children were selected. And 2 or 3 of the kids survived. And according to the testimony that was given, which was verified, I did verify it, what he witnessed was that Prince Philip and his friends had told the kids, "You've got a 10-minute head start or a 5-minute head start. Better run, run, run." And I don't know if Queen Elizabeth was at the hunting party, or if she knew about it, or if she chose to just stay home and drink her tea. But according to the child witness, the kids got like a 5 to 10 minute start, and they ran. And then these British aristocrats came hunting for them. It's daddy's home, shooting and killing to quell the herd, because the Canadians said, we've got to quell the herd. We've got too many of them. So 2 or 3 kids survived, and the kid that survived was testifying And he died. He died of what they said he died of food poisoning before he could give his testimony. He had some kind of a stomach incident and died. So that is what happened at the royal hunting party. But this is something that the British used to do. The British aristocrats, they would hunt the poor. Often prisoners. They would release petty prisoners to the royals for a weekend hunting party. Prostitutes. If you ever seen the TV show Harlots, one of the characters in Harlots, run, 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 and she runs into the woods, and the man of the manor hunts her, and it's based on real stuff that they would really do, and evidently that Philip did that. So of course Philip's going to have a problem with Meghan. Why'd you marry her for? She's an actress. You just have sex with them and discard them. A woman of color, and she's an actress. You have a little fun, and then you throw her in the trash, or you kill her like I do, right? But you certainly don't raise her up and treat her like a lady and marry her in the church, right? So this was beyond the comprehension of somebody like Philip, the racist pig that he was, right? So, and he looked like a ghoul before he died, like he was a demon, right? Anybody who saw him prior to his death. Good for you, my love. Just make sure he doesn't get taken over by Qatari and Iranian propaganda. Yes, Mila. Don't leave our Melina. She knows to put her in jail too. I don't know who Melina. You mean Melania? Let's take a look at Melania. Mila, can I just feed my cat real fast and I'll come back? I'm just gonna throw some food in the bowl for her. Hold on. My cat was on the point of violence, so she was biting me, and give me my damn dinner. So, yeah, that's more like a midnight. She usually gets a little midnight snack, so she was waiting for it. Like, are you going to feed me or not? All right, Melania, the future of Melania. What is going on with Miss Melania? Oops. Money. You know, she really does come. I'm sorry, but it's kind of like she's a prostitute. Pay me. Where's no money, no honey? Where's my money? Is give me money. You want me show up? You give me money. Everything about the money. It's all about money. You got money, honey? No money, no honey. Money, money. So it's a financial transaction for her. She's a prostitute. I prostitute. I number one prostitute. And I want money. You give me money. I prostitute. Right? So, or I leave you. I leave you, Donald. I leave you. If you don't give money, I leave. We shall see. We shall see whether I stick around. I'm not going to go to your court case. You don't pay me for that. Are you going to give me any emotional support? Of course not. You don't pay me for emotional support. I don't go to your trial. Hopes and fears. Is she Catholic, right? She's Catholic? The Pope. She has some kind of view of she will seek a divorce. I want out when I think they come for his money. When they come for his money, if I see they are coming for his money, then I will get divorce from him. If they come for his money. If I'm afraid that they are coming after his estate, he's a little bit crazy right now, I need to go. I go, take money, not part of his estate. I'm free. That's Melania. No money, no honey. I think about leaving poor bastard. What I really feel in my heart, I feel connection to Pope. I do. There's a part of me I'm connected to this. Where will it lead? I divorce him. We go to court. When I see he is dying and all these people coming to take his money, that is also my money. I take my money, then you can have whatever you want. But first I get my money. Divorce, divorce, divorce. So she divorces him. She's going to divorce him. I take my money, I move on. I don't know, go back to Slovenia, I don't know. Yeah, over the money. She wants to get her money and extract it from him. She wants separate money. They can sue me, you understand? If they sue his estate, all these victims, everywhere is victims. I have to protect myself. I have to protect my money. I'm working my ass off. Who gives a fuck about Christmas? I don't care, do you? I have to get my money. I leave the sick bastard. Of the fears. The devil is over the cross. I start to feel a little guilty, to be honest with you. I start to have this like childhood memories of Catholic school with nuns. It start to make me feel a little guilty about the devil. The devil I know. Final outcome, divorce court. Is not good for you, Donald. Judgment in my favor. Bye-bye, Donald. I have rights in prenup. Judgment fall to me. That's her cards. Thank you. Thank you for that performance. Thank you. Thank you. Applause. Applause, please. Pretty crazy. My life's been pretty damn, you gotta admit, the Oasis, that was pretty, that I wrote it in 3 days. That the IDF spokesman said, give it to me. And I turned around and gave it to them. I wrote directly those people off, so I gave it directly to Benny Gantz and to Netanyahu and to the Knesset and everybody else. But yeah. Within 6 days, within 6 days of me giving it to the IDF, it was in Elon's hands. It took the aliens 6 days. They said they were going to help. Within 6 days, they had it in his hands. He has the money to pull it off. Get it started. Do what you have to do. Use Elon to get the whole thing started. Get all these other people on board with the 20-point plan. And then get rid of them. That's what I imagine is going to happen. Very true. I inhaled a hair. Awful. I have never seen an episode of The X-Files. Sounds good, though. Yeah. Nobody believed me. Oh, yeah. Just checking for questions. Wow. Oh my God, that's terrifying. Yeah, a lot of our men were on the Pacific, the California Navy, that my dad was in. A lot of his mental health problems, I think, came from the military. Two is captured at one point. Oh, what just happened? Are we still in? Yeah, we are. I don't know. I just a vague story about him being captured at one point, and it's like a place like Indonesia at one point, and he got released by a British officer came and got him out. They negotiated a prisoner swap at one point. Crazy. Yeah, the British came in. You saw a huge cigar shape. Yeah. This was in Dusk Elementary School. Yeah, I never saw the cigar ones. I saw the round craft saucer. Yeah, like I don't know what it is where people just can't see it. They're like, I don't know, there's something everybody gets cloaked, but the person that's supposed to see it. Oh wow, triangle. Okay, cool. Yeah. Bigfoot is all over the place now. I did not. I haven't read these. I haven't seen this stuff. I did not. It, it. I don't know what the hell happened to me as a kid, and I don't know about that dream with Lucy showing up as Sandra Oh. Like, what the hell is that? And then talking to me about building peace zones, and then getting a download in 3 days, and writing my entire thesis premise within 3 days, including the location and the 6 zones, and Elon Musk showing. I mean, like it's just too. It's too. That's why people don't. Well, now people believe me because they can see it happening. But when I first announced it, like 4 years ago, people thought I was crazy. People still think I'm crazy. They believe me and think the whole thing is crazy. So when it started to manifest, then people are like, okay, she might not be crazy. Or she's still crazy, but damn, that's crazy. I don't know. I don't know what people think. I don't know. I don't know what I think about it. And I wrote the thing. I was 36 driving daughter to school, and I saw something that scares the living shit out of me. I never told anyone because no one would have believed me. Oh, you should tell us what it was. Tell us what it is. Tell us what it is. We want to know. We'll believe you. Hey, I had a alien craft over my thing over my house when I was a kid. I downloaded the Oasis one in 3 days, and Elon Musk showed up and took it. I mean, it's like we've seen some crazy shit here on this channel, folks. I mean, have you all read my thesis? Who here has not read my thesis? You better fess up. No? Okay, you can go ahead and get a link to the thesis. There you go. Okay. Was there an orb? I know something happened because I just blacked out and came back. Hope it was okay. We're still connected though, thank God. Oh my goodness. Did you guys see that woman? She communicates with orbs and they're communicating to us in ancient Sumerian and she decoded their this is a transmission and it's like she started to translate the Sumerian. We are connecting with you through an ancient language. And she's like, I need to call the press. It was on yesterday on Jeff Marr. Check it out. It's fascinating. Yeah, it was a boyfriend. It's a very common form of trafficking that nobody takes seriously, which is where this is also what happened to the actress who was the Playboy bunny that got murdered in the end by her boyfriend. The Killing of the Unicorn was her biography. Yeah. Where you have a guy and they groom you and tell you they're going to, I dated the guy for years. He came from a very nice family and, lured me out to LA and I was, I was a vulnerable adult. I didn't know how to protect myself. I literally was like under mind control. I was like kept in a room with a hot plate for 5.5 years paying his credit cards off. It's pretty bad. There are bad people in this world and not enough good people protecting vulnerable people. Saw a huge bomber flying on Butte Creek Canyon and I was driving down to Chico and it made no sound. As soon as it passed me, I tried to see it on the side view mirror, but it disappeared. How interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, it's a bad idea. You should not be making little country clubs for Jews only. That's really cruel. Well, we're not hurting anybody. We're going to go be in an area where nobody's living there. There's a lot of open space on the West Bank. You don't have to take anybody's house because it's just like miles of open field. Because it's not very densely populated. But that's not the point. The point is that you are you're cruel. Well, we give them jobs. They pick our grapes. They clean our toilets, and that's cruel. That's not integration. That's exploitation. Secularism. Not this crazy religious wingnuts that think the earth is 6,000 years old, that think that they're going to take the land because in the Bible, in the Torah, we came and we killed the Hittites and the Amorites, and they're going to do the same thing now. And it's like, yeah, no. Benny Gantz would say, if you're going to build anything, everybody has to live there. If they're a law-abiding citizen, you give them a chance and you let them live there and you integrate. And he's right. There are terrorists and crazy people that would infiltrate, which is why you need a secure zone like an Oasis with a border and security so terrorists are not coming in strapped with whatever and killing everybody, because terrorists don't want Oasis. They don't want Arabs and Jews living together in peace, love, and harmony and falling in love and making babies. And the ultra-Orthodox don't want that. You're sleeping with a Jewish girl. So both extreme groups don't want this. They want to continue to separate. They want to continue to fight. And they don't want Oasis. They don't want integration and cooperation. And it's a secular government that is out of the bedrooms and out of the business of other, but protects everybody is what we need. And if we can get it in an Oasis zone, then extremism on both sides would collapse, and so both sides would be theoretically threatened by Oasis. Oh, thank you. Well, I don't like dirty money, so my fighting to stop dirty money and defending Israel, even though I don't defend Netanyahu, of course, and saying Iran is not our friend, Qatar is not our friend, I think that, I'm pretty educated on this subject, and I don't find the readers to be, I'm sorry to say, many readers don't really know what they're talking about, like, it's Lena Rodriguez. Dr. Lena Rodriguez is very educated. And one time we were having a conversation and I said, do you find it disturbing the level of illiteracy you see in the average American? And she said, yes, I do. In other countries, people can have much deeper conversations. And I think it says a lot about our primary and secondary education in the United States. And we just live in our own bubbles watching MSNBC or, I read the Huffington Post also, but now I'm trying to look at other, I'm trying to move away from propaganda towards just data collection, because I think living in our own bubble is going to be really bad for all of us. What's the data show? I don't want to play politics. What's the data show? Like, the data shows that Donald Trump is a pedophile. The data shows that Donald Trump was hanging out with Epstein, trafficking and kidnapping girls, and through a Trump modeling agency and through these beauty pageants. That's what the data shows, right? So we don't have to do propaganda. We just need to stick to data, because the data is on our side. The data is on our side that democratic socialism works. When people, socialism is so evil. The best human rights record is the democratic socialist countries, Norway, Sweden, Iceland. So clearly that's not true. So we don't have to be afraid of the truth as liberals, right? But we do need to be concerned as liberals about foreign money infiltrating and doing to us what they did in the revolution in Iran, hijacking the progressives, hijacking the Green Party. We don't need to become conservatives. We don't need to become Republicans. We need to save the left from foreign money. We know the GOP is bought and sold, but we're not GOP, so it doesn't involve us. We need to be worried about us being bought and sold by Iran. We need to follow the money with Mamdani. If Mamdani, according to his campaign manager, and also investigations, he's under investigation for this. His mother took millions of dollars from Qatar, millions of dollars from Iran. These are horrible countries for human rights. You don't belong there. So I don't feel comfortable about progressives and liberals taking money from countries with horrible human rights records, which is very different than me saying I have a problem with democratic socialism, because I'm very enthusiastic about democratic socialism, as Golda Meir was enthusiastic about democratic socialism, and Ben-Gurion was passionate about democratic socialism, which is why they built the kibbutz and the Knesset, which was a democratic system based on the parliamentary system, to uphold and sustain a democratic socialist country. And then a bunch of Johnny-come-latelys came in and screwed everything up. The Netanyahus, right? And if you are left, then you're going with, gaslighting me and making it out like the left is horrible, when the founders of my country were, friends of Bernie Sanders' parents. And Bernie Sanders is just a good old-fashioned Zionist from the old days. And we have so far strayed from the original concept. They didn't even want a country. If you read, there's a really good book you might want to check out. It's called Ben-Gurion, Prophet of Fire. He came to Palestine from Lithuania, I believe, in 1909 when it was Turkey. And there were about 6,000 Jews in Jerusalem and about 4,500 Arabs. So Jews were always the majority. A lot of people don't know that. In Palestine, we were always there, and we were the majority. And a large percentage, if not the majority of Palestinians, have Jewish ancestry. But in the 9th century, when the Arabs conquered, the Arabs were the conquerors. That's how you wound up with Arabic in Israel instead of Aramaic or Hebrew, right? Aramaic under the Babylonian exile. So it was Hebrew, then you had the Babylonian exile, and they spoke Aramaic, similar to ancient Sumerian. And then you had Cyrus the Great, et cetera, et cetera. The 9th century, the Arabs came in and they brought the Arabic language. And you had to pay a tax if you weren't a Muslim, which was called a jizm. So many Jews converted to Islam, and that is the Palestinians. They're part Arabic, but many of them have Jewish ancestry. And so that's the great irony is you have Jews killing Jews. That's the in the sense that many Palestinians are Jewish historically, that they became Muslim later on in the 9th century. But David Ben-Gurion didn't want a country. He wanted to rent some land, see if he could buy some land from the Turks. Got any land we could purchase? Yeah, we got plenty of land. There's nobody here. There's not a lot of people here in 1909. It doesn't sustain a large population because we don't have an environment to produce a lot of food. We got a lot of swamps. You want some swamp land? So Ben-Gurion bought up a bunch of swampland. And they imported Australian trees. I'm sorry, I keep inhaling hair. And these trees soaked up all the water. And all this they had malaria too. People were getting malaria. And that rich soil that came up, they started planting orange trees. And that became the kibbutz. And then people came in from Iraq, Arabs, Muslims, and they gave them jobs. And so people were just integrating. So you had Jews and Arabs living together on these communes, these communist communes, right? And then and it was never, and he didn't want a country, he just wanted to build these communes so that Jews who were fleeing the Tsar could go and live on these communes under the Turks. He was so pro-Turkish, so pro the Ottoman Empire that he moved to Istanbul. And David Ben-Gurion was actually living in Istanbul, becoming a Turkish lawyer. And he was working with the Ottoman Empire to buy up land to live with the Turks in Palestine. And then World War I broke out. And when World War I broke out, that was when Turkey fell. The Ottoman Empire collapsed and Britain came in. And Britain messed everything up. Britain and Hitler, those were the two disasters. Hitler made a pact with the head of the Palestinians, Haj Amin Husseini. And the Jewish people made a pact with the British because they couldn't exactly make a deal with the Nazis. And so the Grand Mufti, excuse me, the Grand Mufti, he became a Nazi of the Palestinians. So you had these groups building tensions. So he became a Nazi. And he began to disseminate Mein Kampf and Hitler's ideology to the Palestinians. And the rest is history. Spreading the philosophy of Nazism to Palestinians. The stuff they don't want you to know. The stuff they don't want you to know is the stuff you should be learning. The stuff they don't want you to know is the stuff you should be learning. The Hitler Pact. Himmler. What do we do with that? It means that the beat goes on. And the beat goes on, and the beat goes on, right? So how do we unravel the eugenics bullshit of the British aristocracy? They invented fake philosophy that Jews and blacks and other groups were inferior because they wanted to maintain control as socialists gained power in Britain. So they invented a fake science, which was called eugenics, which basically said that white aristocrats have higher IQs and are superior to other races. And then they invented the IQ test with answers that only people who were raised, who went to school at Eton, who would, basically all the stuff that you would know if you had been raised an aristocrat and went to Eton. And so the IQ test was stacked against the poor, people who had never had those opportunities. Well, here's the proof right here, your IQ test. So that was the British. And so you had the British eugenics, which Hitler had adopted those ideas. And Britain blocked immigration of Jews during the Holocaust, locked the doors of Palestine. And then you had the Palestinian Pact with Hitler, and that took the lives of 6 million Jews. And at that point, it went from let's build communes in Palestine under the Ottomans. It became we have to have our own country or we're all going to die. It became a necessity to escape this type of insanity. And we are still fighting Nazis. That's another way that you could look at it. We are still fighting Nazis in the sense that Hitler planted seeds outside of Germany, outside of Europe. So that's another way we could look at it. RFK Jr., yeah, interesting person, definitely interesting. Very true. His VP he picked was an immigrant raised on food stamps by my mom with alcoholic. She lived in the America. I don't know who you're referring to. Oh, are you talking about JFK Jr.? Well, the JFK, the Kennedys did a lot for the poor, even though they came from wealthy families. A lot of social reform for the poor under John F. Kennedy. That's terrifying. Yeah, they're removing our history. I think that sounds like Jew hatred and the blood libel. That's the blood libel, Marcy. You're you're spreading Jew hatred, and you should fact check that. It's not your fault. It's not your fault, but that's what's happening. That didn't happen. Fact check it. Because the Rothschilds are Jews, so therefore they are, evil, right? So that's the conspiracies always go back to the Jews, right? So that's how the blood libel works. Everything is the fault of the Jews, and they're Jews. They're out to get us. Well, who are they? You have to ask yourself, who are they? When we talk about they, who are they? Who are the secret people that is, anti-Semitic conspiracy? Well, it keeps flashing off. Do you notice that? It goes off and on. It's kind of weird. All right, Prince Harry, any bad stuff on him? Let's take a look. Spiritual. He's a spiritual man. So he's a yogi like his wife. So he's in the Hierophant phase. So higher ethos, higher ethics. His house of opposition is his father, the king. He's having a problem with his father. He's a pretty spiritual guy. He's got the Hierophant in his 7th house, but his house of opposition is king. The ruler, the emperor. His hope and fears, his marriage. He fears that his marriage won't make it. Like he's having concerns about his marriage right now. His final outcome, strong. He's a strong man. He's a very strong man. He's a very strong man. He's writing another book, and this is very different. And this is more about empowerment and how to help people. He's focusing a lot on education and empowering people and higher ethos. A book on ethics. So he's done trashing his family. He doesn't want to do that. This is a book more about how can you be more empowered? Like it's about empowering people. And he's very committed to education, particularly in the young. A new contract with his father. So I think his father could be in a situation where he has to step down. Inverted 4 of Pentacles over the 2 of Cups. He was afraid for his economic future at one point with Meghan because they couldn't afford the security. And his family thought that they could break him by taking away his security and that he would come running back and get rid of his wife. And they needed millions and millions and millions of dollars to maintain the security for themselves and future generations because it was never going to end. And an inverted 4 of Pentacles would indicate that they came out of it, that they made it financially, and that they're not going to have to worry about that. That his children's safety and his wife's safety was foremost. He still has to evade attacks. He's got this run like a thief. He's got to give up his family. I'm sorry, but they're not mentally well. These are eugenicists with straight. I did a remote on Harry. I did a few remotes on Harry. The first was when he and Meghan officially came out for their first, when she had to give her first speech at the Invictus Games. And she did a great job. In the remote, I had gone to the speech, and Harry was waiting in a line and he was shaking people's hands. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. And I got over to him, and we talked briefly, and then he said to me, they really are keeping the worker down. You can't get ahead the way they beat the worker down. They beat the worker down, and you can't get ahead. You can't get ahead in life because they beat the worker down. And I was like, this is not a normal conversation you have with a prince of an English prince, right? A British prince. They don't sound to you like Bernie Sanders, but he that was what came out of his mouth. He's like, you can't get ahead with this economy. I mean, they're beating the workers down. Who are you? Like, why did you say that? And at that point in the dream, Harry felt like, I got the impression like I've said too much. Like it just came out of his mouth casually. Well, they're keeping the workers down. Who are you? And he immediately closed down. And I made the mistake of trying to go back to talk to him, and he was gone. I've said too much. So that was a little bit of a glimpse that this is a very unusual man. That is not, he sounded like a Bernie guy. And I know his mother-in-law voted for Bernie and was involved in a food charity that is active with Bernie Sanders. But I didn't know that at that time. So I think that he's a Bernie bro. Yeah. I don't think he can publicly say that. But the impression I got from connecting with Harry is that he supports Bernie Sanders. Yeah. She looks like an egg. Well, she was standing with some robots. You like money? Yes, I like money big time. I like money big time. Melanoma is moose and squirrel. Wasn't Melania part of Epstein's? Well, yes, she was. That the data would suggest yes. Again, don't be afraid of the data. We're winning. We have the truth on our side. But we need to kick foreign money from countries with her. No, I don't want to be tolerant and open-minded about countries that are putting me in a burqa. I'm a feminist. We fought to have these rights, and I like them. I like my Western values. I don't know anything about this X-File. You guys got me curious. All right. How long the Straits of Hormuz be blocked? That's a good question. Let's take a look. It's these little fuzzy hairs that come off my cat. Not the big hairs, the little tiny fuzzy ones, and they get stuck in the back of my throat. She rubs against this microphone. It's really annoying. She sits on the chair. I need to move the chair so she can't do that. Straits of Hormuz. Let's do it. Oof, Queen of Wands. Oshun. Remember we've talked about this energy over the earth of just the cumulative anger of women has caused energetic shifts in the world. It's like Elon was saying on X, we've got a world where women, these feminists that hate men, like, why is this happening? I don't understand why women hate men. Oh, you can't figure it out, Elon? You can't figure out why women are so angry. If you've been to Afghanistan recently, they're selling 3-year-olds on the slave market to pedos because women don't have any money because they're not allowed to work and they're not allowed to show more than one eye. You think that that might bother us, Elon? 61 dictatorships in the UN, and those countries hate women. They hate women in Saudi Arabia. They're killing them for witchcraft. You think that might bother us, Elon? Qatar, you think that might bother us? What's the problem? You have to accept the culture of submission. No, we don't. Pakistan, we're not interested. Yeah, we're angry because you're raping and hurting people. Oshun wins. She will open it within 6 months. She's in charge. We're not. These men are just tools. She should stop worrying about Trump and this and that. They all are being controlled by a force greater than themselves. When she decides to open it, Ariel, a new beginning. He paves the way. Final outcome, 4 of Pentacles. No, she wants it closed. You're going to have to wait a little bit longer. She's healing the world. She's not ready yet. She's picking off a lot of people, looking for them, picking them off. The great rejoicing is upon us for the women. The freedom, the liberation of the women. You don't want your country invaded. You don't want bad karma from Oshun and Firehorse is plowing through. My advice to you is treat women like people. Treat women like people. Inverted 2 of Pentacles. The flim flam man. The crazy money. 6 months. There could be fighting and until all their rockets are taken out. Half of them remain. So it'll be over in about 6 months. Okay, let's see. Will Congress ever do their job? Can Congress get together, or they're all bought and sold? MTG is right about that. She says stuff that's true. Even though I think she's nuts about the whole Jewish space lasers. We're going to be taken out by Jewish space lasers. They made me go to the Holocaust Museum because I didn't know who Anne Frank was. Who's she? I mean, really, this person was in Congress. Okay, people, think about that. She spent like an hour there. Congress do their job. I see war. I see the Constitution. Hopes and fears, the law. What can they get away with? 9 of Wands. They're strapped. Until November, we've got a hung Congress. Yeah. No, he is not. Oh, how cool. Yeah, check out how to communicate with the orbs. You just have to learn a few Sumerian chants. Something that was not human was walking up my side steps as I was pulling out of my driveway. I watched the horrible creature kind of walk, kind of slither. I froze, scared to death. I'll never forget it. Holy shiz. That sounds terrifying. Where were you? What part of the world were you? That sounds terrifying. Dorothy Stratton. She was trafficked by her boyfriend, the pimp. Took a few pictures of her, took her out to California. You know, she grew up without a father, a vulnerable adult. She got pressured into taking, she's very shy. She was crying. She didn't want to do certain things. He pressured her. Then he pressured her to marry him, even though she wasn't sure she wanted that. You know, she was dominated. When she tried to escape, he built a torture chamber for her, put her in it, raped her, tortured her, and then murdered her. That was the that was the killing of the unicorn. There's something broken in a lot of men. This is why we don't like men, Elon. Not all men, but, you know, this is why women are angry, Elon. Are you seeing the connection now? What kind of flavor? My favorite is Israeli-Palestinian, where it's prepared fresh, often hot, like in the shuk, and then they put fresh warm chickpeas on top of that, floating on top of it. A heap of fresh chickpeas is laid on top, and then olive oil is placed on that, and sometimes they'll put some minced parsley with Israeli pita. And Israeli pita is soft and fluffy. It's not this dry crap you get in the United States. I don't like that thin, dry crap. That's not the pita. That's not Israeli pita. You can get Israeli pita in Los Angeles and possibly in New York, but it's a fluffy pita. It's fluffy and bouncy. And then I like to eat it with slices of sweet onion. I make my pita. I like to put a slice of onion in there and some sliced pickle, and then I put it in, and then that's how I eat it, and I'm addicted to it, and I literally will fly to Israel just so that I can have that hummus. Best, I think Eliyahu in Jaffa has some great hummus. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's money. It's foreign money. Oh, you find Jewish women. You'll find us irresistible. Ooh la la. Well, thank you for that. What's so special about us? Because we're quirky and funny. Because we're quirky. You know, Jewish women are funny. You know, we're quirky and funny, and so guys that tend to like Jewish women, they like smart girls that are like quirky and a little, you know. Diane Keaton had a very Jewish way about her, even though she wasn't Jewish. She was raised, you know, white middle class, but she had that quirky kind of, yeah. Yes, cutting hand. They also murdered their own princess. You know, a princess in a forced marriage. So you had a princess. She was in a forced marriage with a guy that was abusive. So any wonder she went and found somebody else? It wasn't even a valid marriage. If I'm not consenting, how am I now married to this guy? That's not marriage. That's incarceration. So the princess had a love affair. Lonely woman trapped in a loveless marriage to some guy she got bartered off to, right? What did Saudi Arabia do? They turned the cameras on and made everybody in Saudi Arabia watch her march out onto her execution block and have her head chopped off on live TV for committing the crime of, you know, finding comfort in the arms of another person, right? Because she was married, she was forced into a marriage. Sick freaks. Why are you voting in the UN? Get out. And you can take Afghanistan with you. You can take Morocco. You can take Egypt. You can take Syria. now being headed by the head of Al-Qaeda. Get your human rights record in order. You can take Qatar, Chad, Burkina Faso. We could just, you saw the worst human rights records, right? Countries with the worst human rights records. Iran heading human rights in the UN. Are you kidding me? What the hell is that about? What is that about? Why would we do that? North Korea is another one. Iran, North Korea. North Korea, Afghanistan. These countries should not be in the UN. Voting against the Jews. They also are a lobby, right? They're all Muslim countries with horrible human rights records that all piggyback and say, it's all the fault of the Jews and Israel. And then they pour millions and billions of dollars into primary education, convincing our young people to hate the Jews, right? So North Korea, Afghanistan, Eritrea, Syria, Sudan, these are all Muslim countries. Afghanistan, Eritrea, Syria, Sudan and Yemen, Iran, China, no. Myanmar, that's in the middle of a civil war, but I think it's mostly Muslim, right? Ecuador, Guinea, Uzbekistan. Yeah. Killing gay people, throwing them off rooftops. Won't that be fun? Afghanistan and Pakistan are at the bottom, along with North Korea, Iran. Look, here's Qatar. Get your money, get your $20 billion out of our universities. You should not be educating our daughters. You should not be in the Democratic Party. You should not be in the Green Party. And you should not be in the UN. Yemen, there's another one. No marriage age. You can marry them at any age. Help yourself. Laos, Myanmar, Afghanistan, Eritrea. Sorry to hear about Nicaragua. That's very unfortunate. Burkina Faso, Algeria, right? Democracies, yeah. So these are the democracies. Norway, those bloody liberals. Those bloody democratic socialists. Look what they did. Look what those democratic socialists did. They're the top of the heap. The happiest people in the world. So are you going to see terrorism amongst people that grow up in a world like that? Denmark. The more you know. The more you know, right? That's the thing. We want people on this channel to be educated and not just spouting Iranian BS. Or Qatar. Qatar has this horrible human rights record. Stop reading Al Jazeera. Nazis should not be educating you, right? You don't need Nazis to be teaching you ethics, right? Okay, we'll do a couple more and then we're going to call it a day. I know. Because I have to pee. All right, I think we're done. I didn't get a lot of laughs for my Melania impersonation. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, her friend hated Star 90 because he said that Dorothy Stratton was nothing like that. She would never just drop her clothing. She was an incredibly shy woman and an intellectual. She sat around reading books. Bogdanovich was the director. Bogdanovich fell in love with her and wanted to marry her, and that is why. And her crazy pimp husband, I made you this, and you owe me. Kidnapped her, raped her, tortured her, did all kinds of horrible things. Sick puppy. Oh, I think Jared will be fine. He's building the Abraham Accords. Who knows? You hear him talk. It's a nice idea, the Abraham Accords, and he's backing Oasis. Let's take a look. Jared Kushner, walking away from everything. He wants to move away from politics and towards policy. He spends a lot of time separated from his wife. Hopes and fears, inverted Two of Swords. He is improving. He's going through some kind of spiritual awakening where he's beginning to see outside of the box he lived in. So actually, it's quite positive for him. He's willing to leave everything behind. Well, it's because of Oasis. He wants to build these peace zones, and now he's going to have to go and sit in the Oasis with these people living in Oasis zones and take his shoes off and start listening. And there's this major transformation over him, spiritual transformation. And he's learned to shut up and listen and be open. Inverted Two of Swords, quite auspicious, and become the scholar. So it's actually, it shows a profound change in him for the better. Because I knew you, I was changed for good. You know that song? I was changed for the better. Because I knew you, I was changed for good. Yeah. So that's very positive. See, so we had positive news that real changes could be happening with him. Separating from his wife or spending a tremendous amount of time separated from her. That's what it seemed to suggest. Oh, that's okay. We're just finishing up. I've got a mouthful of little tiny hairs from my cat I keep inhaling. I'm having allergies up the wazoo. Thank you guys for tolerating it. I can feel it in the back of my throat. Those little tiny mini hairs that she gets. Here's one of them. You can see it. I'm inhaling these. Can you see these? You probably can't see it. Oh yeah, there you go. You can see it. Yeah, I'm inhaling them. I choke on them. I cough and spit. I love my cat, but I developed a real but yeah, it is what it is. I can feel like a scratchy in the back of my throat. Everyone knows it's Mila. All right, love you guys. I'll see you all at 11 a.m. tomorrow if I can wake up for private readings. And if you are taking remote viewing from me, if you are at the Elders and Empaths level, are you going to come to class? I just feel like kind of depressed. I show up on Sunday and nobody shows up to class. I'm like, well, I'm just not going to teach if there's only going to be 3 people here. So I think I'm going to rename it Mystery School, and I'm just going to let you guys decide what you want me to teach, and and I will share the mini hairs. Yeah, and what I can't do anything about it. I mean, yeah. Oh, it's on the roof of my mouth. That's what I was choking on. I had it's so annoying. I love her, but it's very annoying. Oh, you had 8. Oh my God. Yeah, I think we're gonna just. Oh, that helped. I got it out. I think we're gonna just do Mystery School Sunday, or whenever you guys want. When do you guys want to do a Mystery School and just hang out? I'll teach you everything I know. Herbology, natural medicine, psychic phenomenon, whatever it's just going to be called Mystery School, and every week it'll be us getting together, no pressure, and we're going to just talk about whatever you like. If you're at the elders or empaths level. And if you're elders and empaths, you tell me, does Friday work? Sunday work? When do you guys like getting together? Quercetin can help. Yes, quercetin can help. Turmeric can help. Yerba Santa can help. Mm-hmm. Fridays? Yeah, but aggravated progressive, I don't think that you're an elder and empath. So, but if you are an elder and empath, we've got about 100 of you guys. So I just want you guys happy. Whatever you guys want, you are paying extra to be here. So I'm here for you. Maybe you guys want to get personal readings, or I don't know, but we do that on Saturday. I don't know. Oh, aggravated. You are not. You're very sweet. How's your motorcycle, by the way? I think somehow you're in Florida and you're into motorcycles, right? Is that you? I think that's you, right? I try to remember people's. I have a good memory. I used to have a photographic memory, but not anymore. It's semi-photographic now. It's like selective. All right, love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really enjoyed it. And I'll see you next time. This was great, you guys. I really enjoyed this. Thanks for hanging. All right. Night, loves. No, bye.